my agenda here. I didn't lose it back. Here, no, wait a minute, I just did this thing. So, let's see, I just had it marked.
Okay.
This meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Penn Township will now come to order Wednesday, February 25th, 2015. We will stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, that being done, I would like to announce that we had an executive session on 2/9/15 for the interviewing of a police officer. And before I go into the recognition of visitors, so we can move through the agenda and maybe save a little bit of time, I have a couple items that I would like to address, and its answers and questions to some of the issues that were brought up last month. And I'm not going to belabor it, I'm going to move into it and move out of it. The information is available here in the office for anybody to take a look at. Last month, when Stanley raised the issue about the increased cost on his cable bill and whatnot, I did not make debatable, Stanley, or get involved with that, but there's a history to that maybe people see what Blue Ridge has done. And I've got some items here. They have a copy, and I'd like to run over. Under federal law, Blue Ridge must have a cable franchise agreement with the township, unless the township does not want such an agreement. Cable franchise agreements are very important because they provide protection to the township, private property, as well as establish cable operators' customer service standards. In exchange for the use of the township streets, cable franchise often establish a fee that the cable operator must pay the municipality. Since the 1990s, Penn Township has had a cable franchise agreement with Blue Ridge requiring that Blue Ridge pay 3% of its cable revenues to the township. The township did not implement the fee in 2015. Rather, that fee has been in place for 20 years. It's been in place for 20 years. If you go back and take a look at the bill that I have here, it goes back into last year, and incidentally, it's off of someone that gets bid, franchising authority, Penn Township, Perry County. And so you go back, it's right on those past bills that they had a franchise when in fact they weren't paying anything. But during the audit, number 5, in 2013, the township hired the Cohen Law Group to audit the franchise fees that the township received from Blue Ridge. The township did this because the annual fee that it received from Blue Ridge was suspiciously low. During the audit, the township discovered that Blue Ridge never paid franchise fees to the township, even though the cable franchise agreement between the township and Blue Ridge obligated such payment amount of 3% of the cable operator's revenues. When the Cohen Law Group informed Blue Ridge that it was not paying the franchise fees to the township in accordance to the cable franchise agreement, Blue Ridge offered a lump sum settlement to the township. Just as I put the carrot out there. When the Cohen Law Group informed Blue Ridge it was not paying the franchise fees to the township in accordance with the cable franchise agreement, Blue Ridge offered a lump sum settlement to the township. Because the township did not want to pursue litigation, the township accepted Blue Ridge's settlement offer. The township thought the settlement was fair and assumed that Blue Ridge was operating in good faith. Unfortunately, the township was wrong. Under federal law, cable operators have the option to pass through settlement costs to subscribers. However, most cable operators do not pass through any settlement costs at all. Blue Ridge has unilaterally chosen to pass costs onto the township residents over a one-year period, which is very rare. The Cohen Law Group has spoken to Blue Ridge about the one-year period, and Blue Ridge has refused to compromise. At the same time, Blue Ridge has decided to raise your monthly cable bills. Blue Ridge has used the lump sum payment franchise fees that it owed the township, as well as a franchise fee that has been in place for 20 years, as a way to mask the fact that it has raised rates. Blue Ridge's blatant attempt to hide its rate increase by making false accusations against the township is both unethical and offensive. And we also have received this letter here from Blue Ridge explaining to us their raise, and they're saying they have to raise because their servers and their providers are passing it on to them. So it's not the 3%, and it's not what the township done that's in this increase raise. They raised your rates as well. And put it in the letter, the important letter there. It says, important news, Penn Township has imposed the 3% franchise fees to make us look like the bad guy. And so I have all this information. I have a copy of this letter. Anybody would choose to come in the office to get it. And these things here, which verify and back up what I'm saying, are also available for people to see if they wish to see it. That's all I have to offer on that particular one, and I have one other one, and I'm going to make it brief. It seems after a township meeting or wherever you go the next day or the next couple of days, there's always somebody who wants to know something. Some people are a little bit upset, and some people get to the point that telling you can have that, if you will. And so there was a gentleman come in out the township shed one morning when I'm trying to get out of there with the crew and get busy. And he was hot on the taxes. It's no fault of Mr. Peters' opinion as to what he questioned the fire company here on their bills, their debt, and et cetera, which we've got reasonable response on that. But it brought up the fact that why would we have to put out a fire tax to do this if they go belly up or don't want a fire tax, don't want no more fire taxes? Do we have a fire tax in Penn Township now? That's my question to everybody sitting there. Huh? Are you sure of that?
I don't collect one.
I know. Thank you, Barbara. The last tax increase that was put on this township was at about 2001. And taxes were increased, and it was part of the record and the minute that they be increased in order to give the fire companies more money. And they put $250,000 on to get monies to give to the fire company at that time. That was prior to me taking office in 2004. And that was an election year, and that was what was done because I was running against the individual at that time. And so I sat at meetings down with fire companies at that time as well. But that, and then there was always the discrepancy, which Helen will tell you, that the fire companies didn't get that whole $250,000 that they were promised. Am I not correct?
Yes, yeah.
That's correct. And the possibility that could be so, but nevertheless. So how much of your 0.55 something of a mil, a little over $500,000 in the township, goes to fire protection now, emergency services? How much of that goes out the door for that right now? We collect about $104,000 worth of real estate taxes in Penn Township in a year. And the late ones come in, and maybe you'll get up to 111. Now that's about the average, 104 that we collect. So we collect that off of $500,000. 21% of the real estate in Penn Township is tax exempt. So we have a large amount of real estate out here that's tax exempt that we don't collect on it. If you take the $67,000 or close to 67 that the fire company's getting and the 15 you're giving to EMS, doesn't leave much money out of what we collect for taxes for in our general fund. So your taxes at the present time, that amount of money is going towards fire protection and emergency services. Now, is it the proper way? Is it the right way? Fire tax? Taxing it this way? I've heard, I sat through many a meeting where the fire companies did not, they wanted equal to a mill, but they didn't want to put a mill's tax on it. We want equal to a mill, but they want us to put it on the people's real estate, and then we give them the donation of that amount of money. And that's fine. That puts the supervisors in the point of raising taxes and taking the blame. And why not a 1% tax, or why not a millage tax for a fire company that it's dedicated to it? And there is the difference. What we give now is a donation that we have no control over. If it's a fire tax and it comes to the township, we have control of the money. Puts it back in a little bit. I can live with it either way, folks. But when we're sitting out here wondering how our fire companies are spending it, and see these fire companies here in particular question where they're at with that money, we have no control over it once we write that check out and give it to them. There is some benefits to a fire tax, a lot of benefits to it. I've found out a very favorable thing, because in the past when we set up meetings, the fire companies didn't want us to put a fire tax on because they didn't want blame for it. Raising taxes for different things is not an easy thing at all for anybody, let me tell you. We've been able to circumvent it at the present time. I've made some tremendous cuts by government expenses that was in this township in the last several years to get our books and get our coffers and keep our CDs and to build up some accounts. And it's not to waste out of the township shed out there like we used to have in the past, and some other places. We've really made some drastic cuts and still able to enforce that. So the individual, when he come in, said, amount of taxes I'm paying, we ought to have 3 fire companies in big buildings. But he did not realize, and most people don't, and a lot don't, realize that that point, that $0.5 is all we get in Penn Township. $50-some on $100,000 worth of assessment. If you got $1 million worth of assessment in Penn Township, you pay $500 taxes to here. I urge everybody to take a look at what you pay to the county and the school for that amount of assessment, or for $100,000. We got a bargain here for what we're getting, I believe, at the present time. So I take a look at the taxes that we do have out there in the township, the real estate tax, the tax is the tax, whether it be a fire tax or whether it stands the way it is, goes on real estate, and the people that pay their taxes, they're the ones that funds it regardless of which it is. It's all how you want to disperse and use that money. There is nothing wrong with a fire tax, brings the control back here. If you want to hand it out and donate it, you have no control over how it's used. Yes, Jesse?
That portion you said that it was put on back then, that was not per se a fire tax though.
No, but
It was not stated as a fire tax.
no, it wasn't stated as a fire tax, but the reason was that they were raising it. We could put $250,000 on tomorrow and say, we're raising taxes for, people want to know, what are you raising taxes for? We need revenue, and that's what was said, Jesse.
I understand, but that is not,
No.
we do not have a fire tax.
No, we do
in
not.
Penn Township.
No, and so I made the comparison as to where your tax dollars are going for those services without a fire
I
tax.
understand.
And what I was trying to get is that we have no control of that money as to how it's used or where it goes at all.
If I may interrupt here, that is not totally accurate. I did speak with the legal office at PSATS. The legal office at PSATS says that we can designate to those organizations that we give donations to, we can designate where we want that money to go, according to the legal office at PSATS.
Yes, and from what I understand that, we did do that with these guys over here.
Correct,
There
but you just
were-
got down saying that we can't, but we can.
You can designate it, but there's no enforcement that they have to follow it.
There is accountability. If we say that we want that to go towards this, they have to show us that it went towards that. There has to be accountability for every dime that we give out to
And-
organizations.
And
And accountability is, if we say that all of it's to go towards the payment of their building, they have to show us that the $65,000 went to the payment of the building. We do have designated $30,000 towards the payment of a building. Therefore, they have to show us that $30,000 of our donation went towards the payment of that building.
we never designated anything towards the payment of the building. It was money given to them that they voluntarily came to us and said that's the way they're gonna use it. We never designated that, we never said that. The only thing that we did say was when we gave them the
So
additional
that's a
money.
gentleman's agreement, word to word,
There
because
you
nothing's
are.
ever been, and
That's
gentlemen's
correct.
agreements have gotten this township in trouble in the past.
And I've.
But I'm just wanting to make it very clear, according to the legal office at PSATs, we can take any donation and we can designate it to go to a certain
Okay,
part of their budget or whatever.
we'll argue that issue between you and I at a later
Okay.
date.
All right, I made the call to PSATs and I spoke with PSATs, and they made it very clear that we have the right
You,
to do that.
and that was what was done with the $25,000 for the equipment out there. But as I understand it, that is a gentleman's agreement between them, and they do show accountability for what they use for
Right,
it.
and I'm not saying they haven't, I'm
Yeah,
just saying that
that
we
they
do
have.
have the legal right with any donation or any funds given out, we can designate where we want that monies to go.
So, the question is what is, the guy said to me, why would we have to raise a fire tax for it? And I gave the explanation of how the money's used, how the township now, how much of our real estate taxes that we have at the present time goes toward those services. Most people don't realize that. The rest of our revenues that we gotta operate on is earned income tax and others that come in. So we do the best we can to manage that money in the way it is without making an increase in taxes. I can live with it either way, folks, as long as there's accountability. So the individual left on a much different note. He thought that he was paying a tremendous amount of taxes to the township when he had his whole tax bill rolled into one item. And so that all surfaced from something being said somewhere after the other meeting. And so I wanted to correct that. I have nothing else to say on that before I move on. And that being said, I'll take the agenda here and not cover it up like I did a little bit ago, and move on to recognition of visitors. Barbara Hamilton.
What I have given or I'm presenting to you is what I want to talk to you about, and also just to show you what so far this month I have already done. I have a concern, a large concern, about the per capita taxes. We have, at the time of 2013, the township contacted the school to see if they would be willing to let them have their census information. Because there were years prior to that, I had been talking to Helen about it, we had had over 2,400 people on our per capita roll. And at that time, when I talked to her, we were down to 1,900 and some people. And so that's whenever the supervisors agreed to ask the school if they paid them, if they would let them have the census information. Because the county said they would no longer do the census, they would no longer pay for it. And so the supervisors went to the school and said, if we pay you, may we have the census information just for Penn Township? And so they allowed them to have it. That particular year, Helen worked closely with me, and we added from the census information 537 residents back onto the per capita roll that had been missed. Because people move out, new ones come in, and there's no way to get the information if they don't do a census. Now, since the county stopped taking the census, we removed in 2014 205 people. And what I showed you there is a list I already have, 96 people before the end of this month that I have to take off. And so that puts us down below what we had in 2013, the number on the roll. So what I'm doing is I'm asking the supervisors to help in gathering information for the tax roll if they can. Number one, will you consider an ordinance requiring owners of rentals, big or small, to report to the township the name of all adults 18 or older living in their rentals for the specific purpose of just adding them onto the tax roll? Because why should the homeowners be the only ones to have to pay the occupation per capita tax, and the renters are allowed to go tax-free because we don't have a plan in place to pick them up and add them to the tax roll? Because you have all Fouts rentals. And I've contacted them before, and Rick there said, yes, I'll send them to you, I'll send them to you. He sent me one paper in the months. That's all he sent me was one paper. And there's all these other rentals that you have here in the township too. And if there's nobody going to be able to pick them up, they don't get on the tax roll. And two, I'm asking to be notified of all the names and addresses of new homeowners possibly using the sewage facilities for the purpose of adding them onto the tax roll. Because if somebody moves out and somebody comes in and buys the property or whatever and they get added to the sewage bill, I don't want their information, all I want is their names so that they can be added. I don't need to know any other information. And three, would you consider mailing out a census survey in your newsletter asking / or requiring, whatever you want to do, them to report the names of all Penn Township residents 18 years of age and older living at their address just for the purpose of adding them onto the per capita roll? And if you have any other ideas from anybody of how we can get this information or maintain this information, I spent hours just this afternoon. I asked Penn if he could take my tax file and bring something up where it compares the real estate, the mailing address to the property location, the name, the where they get their bill mailed to, and what the location of the property is. That way I could compare to see if, just say Harry and Barb Hamilton bought a home, but, oh, well, they don't have per capita bills. So I already have, I'm only up to the 700 block of the 700s, and I already have 75 names that I'm going to be adding on to. And so I still have the rest of the tax file I need to do, but it took me hours just to do that today. And I'm willing to do that to get the people back on, but I'm just asking if there's any way we can do something to somehow work together, or come up with ideas of how you can get these people on. Because if we all pay, I feel everybody should be paying their fair share if they are living here in the township, because I have people that move in and move out before they even get on the tax rolls. And so that's my concern. Do you have any questions?
Question for you, ma'am.
Yes.
Right now, is there any agreement with real estate agents that sell property in the township for them to report to you that somebody purchased a property?
Whenever somebody sells, right now, a lot of times they'll come and they request a tax certification, but they don't give me the name of the new owner that's going to, they just want the information of the person that's leaving. They've never given me the names of the new owners coming in and buying the property.
Is that something we would have to enact for them to do, or is that something you could provide them the paperwork to do and it gets sent to you a part of the closing packet?
I don't know, I'll have to check into that, because I deal with quite a few of them, Signature being the biggest one, that would be, if they would be able to do that.
Yeah, so that way at closing, and even you could include the survey, how many people in your residence are over the age of 18? Maybe.
Include that in the thing whenever they go for the
For
closing, that they could fill that out. That's a good question, I've never thought of that. I will approach some of them and see what they say.
And then my other question, you've already asked it, was how can we enact an ordinance with the renters and the, both rentals, real estate, and landlords to report to us?
Yeah,
Or report to you.
that would be the easiest thing to do, if we could get something on the books that requires them to report to Helen, or they could
Do
report
you
to
have an
me.
example of an ordinance from somewhere else that they
Oh,
may have this already?
No, not at all.
So we have to do a little bit of research and study.
Yeah, I
and-
have no idea. It was
PSAS
just-
probably has one.
What's that?
PSAS probably has.
It was just something that I can't, I was thinking of that we could possibly do. Are there any other questions?
Just so you know that when I get the report in from county for the transfer tax, I'm forwarding that to Barbara now.
Okay.
That'll have the old name and the new name, just not parcel numbers.
I guess, Barb, I don't have a bit of a problem sending out the survey. How do we enforce that? I know when they used to go around, this is a problem, they used to go around and do come door to door.
I did that for 9 years.
Yeah,
I
you're
did the
right.
township for
And it-
5 years, the whole township myself.
Half the time, the way we were working, nobody'd get a hold of me, and they would call me eventually, but they never gave up. They eventually got that information from the homeowners coming to the door, or maybe
Yeah.
some of them could do it over the phone. We could send a survey out, but how do you enforce what they send back, that it's gonna be accurate, or how, and where do you put a penalty on if they don't, or that's a
I
legal
have-
question.
I
We
have
don't
no
know.
idea, because the school never had an answer for that either,
Either.
because when I took the census, I always had to
Yeah.
take the information that they gave you. And let me tell you, some pretty prominent people here in the township used to give me the wrong information, and I won't say any of them, but one of them was like, it was bad. He was a president of a thing and said he was an office clerk.
Well known.
And everybody would know him.
And very truthful. I'm well familiar with that particular one. Okay. Yeah, that was, okay.
But you have to take what they say. But if somebody didn't respond, okay, I realize that, what we get is like $5 face and $5 face for the occupation, that's $10. And if we were to go out and take a census, even send somebody out, pay them $1 or $1.50 of that $10 to go out and pick those people up. That year, it's not gonna pay the full $10, but the next year, if you have them on your tax roll, it's gonna keep building up and up and up. And they'd only have to go to the ones who didn't respond, or if I had noticed that somebody moved, we could give them that address, and they could go out and maybe pick them up and see what happened. But I just think we're losing, they're dropping off like flies, and we just aren't picking anything up. It's not like I'm tax collector for the borough too, but they have, well, I think they have like electric and other things in there that the people have to pay, and if they move out, they have to go fill out a form. So they have that information, and they pass that on to me. But here in the township, we don't have anything like that to be able to.
Not for the whole township, no.
No, we don't. And so that's why I was wondering if you could even come up. I like Brian's idea, because I get quite a few certification requests, and if they would do that, and I would say, I'll do this, but I need in return this, I think they would go along with it.
Yeah, and I also would recommend for you to go to the next municipal authority meeting and speak to the municipal board referencing to number 2, and that's getting anybody that's on the sewer, using sewer facilities. So I would talk to the municipal authority and in cooperation with them in getting that information.
Right, because I took a copy of what I had given you, and I went over the husbands and wives and just highlighted the ones who had moved. And I had several of them that were from Dersham's down, that I thought, well, if they've left and sold their homes, somebody's gonna have to be coming up and paying their sewage bill. And if I could just get that information, not anything else, but just that information of who moved in, that I could add them to it, it would help.
Okay. I'd like to make a statement on the sewer. We try to send that to the owner of the property, not to the tenants that are in it, so if it would change, it would never be changed. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
Like if
say that
If
again,
it's a
please.
rental unit
Okay,
and new people moved in and out, the homeowner that owns that process.
He still has to pay
He
it.
still has to pay it.
I understand, but then if we had a thing in where if they were renters,
You'd have to ask us
And
to put an
they
ordinance in
would-
for that, the municipal authority,
okay.
okay?
But but the thing is, it would go over, yours wouldn't be needed then if we could have the homeowners, report to the township who is moving in, those 18 and older who are moving in, so they could be added
Because
on.
we don't track who moves in and out, as long as we get the rate paid by,
Right, the
The landowner
homeowner,
or
yeah,
property
right,
owner.
I understand that, yeah.
but if you wish to come up and we'll discuss what we can do,
Okay.
if any other ideas,
All right,
okay?
thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Barb. Brad Bird?
Am I supposed to stand here at the table or?
Oh,
stand here?
You don't have to.
Wherever you choose.
I'm here, this has been an ongoing issue, and I'm here to try to do something about it, or I'm gonna have to move out of my house. We've been put through hell down here every spring, summer, and fall with our neighbor running a, one of those ATVs. Within 80 feet to my bedroom, up on Cove Road there. I've talked to him about it, and it's gotten bad. He even, I was at my back door one time and he kept going by and he started an argument with me. I have a witness that he started it, called me an asshole and a cop car and everything else. Because when he runs that, I can't even watch my TV in my house. It's that loud. And the dust and dirt blows all over my property. At least on my days off, I like to have some peace. I have a stressful job. I work up to 14 hours a day driving a truck. And these are pictures. I don't know if I should do this or. I've never. These are, should I go up here?
Yeah.
This is how close to my, now he's on his property. But that's the back of my house there at Cove and Sawmill Road. Right there's my house, and this is right outside my bedroom window here. I could have got a video camera and that's the problem now. There is an ordinance. I've tried to talk to him about it, and he just starts yelling, and you don't want to get me. I don't want to get hyped up like that. There is an ordinance right there, and all I'm asking is that he be pulling it up further, or that there's a distance they're allowed to ride them behind their house. Like, I've never heard of such a thing, really, since I've lived. But I can't, I'm not taking another year of this. So we're gonna, I just have to sell our house. If this continues, no one else will put up with that moves in there unless they do that themselves. It's that loud that I've had to come to this conclusion here. I've made complaints, I guess the police are stuck on what they're allowed to do and not do. I just want the guy to move it up further. And, it's that bad in the house that
Let me ask you a question.
I've come to this, I've had enough of it. And it's not happening now, it's in the summer. Go ahead.
Okay. That was, you say it's not happening now, but what was it? Within the last week, we had complaint in regards to dust and noise and stuff down there. Where'd that come from?
From my house?
What was the last one?
When he called to be on the agenda?
Yeah?
No, I just asked to be on the agenda,
Yeah.
But the issue was
this.
okay. So, when was the last time that you were disturbed by the four-wheeler or these people down there?
Well, I have it written down here, this is, It was in the fall, well, actually
Okay.
New Year's Day,
Okay,
but in the fall, I mean, nobody rides them in the wintertime like that.
okay.
I have some dates here. We had company, somebody with a terminal illness and tried to have her over for dinner. We couldn't even sit at my dining room table and eat. It went on for hours. There's all kind of examples I have. I had to go to a doctor's appointment for my heart. I have a heart condition, but I'm still allowed to drive a truck. She has COPD. I went in there, my nerves were shot. This goes to work with me in the truck down the road when it happens now, especially in the summer. It's that bad. Or I wouldn't be here.
I know this has been an ongoing thing, and the noise and supposedly the dust and et cetera there. You don't have any problem with those tractors that go up down there constantly?
No, I don't care about traffic, Jake brakes or anything like that.
They don't bother you?
No.
Okay.
Um,
And the farm tractors and
No.
the noisy kids going up and down there and the spinning the wheels in the gravel, which I see halfway up over that hill, none of that bothers you?
Yeah, well, I hear it, but it doesn't bother me like a constant going on.
Okay.
It's unnecessary.
So there
It's
hasn't
not
been
a
anything,
lawnmower.
hasn't been anything done since December. Since New Year's Day, you said they were out there, okay, since New Year's, nothing been done, so you're coming here in advance for figuring that this is gonna pick up come spring again, am I not correct?
Right.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
And I might as well sell the house if I have to. Now I'm 60 years old, she's a little older than me, and I'll have to start all over again. I paid $7,000 in interest a year, I pay my taxes and everything. What do we do in the summer and spring? We can't even open our windows in the house. That's with the windows shut. I have triple pane windows I put all around the house. The thing is, I'm scared to even make improvements on the house and put money into it. I don't know if I have to, that's why I'm here. Whether I have to move and start trying to sell the house or what. I just had ABC Fuel Oil come in there and do a bunch of work and clean all the ducts. I opened the windows and what was that, the next day? The dust was flying clear down the Cove Road.
Wouldn't be from him if he hasn't been out
It was
since
the
New Year's.
grandson.
When just the other day this happened? You had
No. I have the dates written down.
Okay.
No, this was in the fall on that. It was that bad. You could see it all in the air. I could taste it in my mouth when I went outside.
So this is you're here tonight in anticipation of what you expect to come this spring?
I'm sure, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It ruins my days off. So, I hate to do this in front of all these people, but I've been trying to bring this up now. This has been going on since I moved in there. Well, a little after I moved in there. My nerves have been shot so bad I've been sick in my stomach. Haven't I, Mary? And I guess that's it. I'm gonna have to know if I'm gonna have to sell the house or what, because it needs more repairs. It needed a lot when I moved in. I moved there thinking that we probably wouldn't be bothered there. I didn't know this was going on, and I never got that place. Because it needs a lot, and I put a lot into it. And now I'm just scared to put any more money into it, fixing it up.
How long you been there, sir?
I've been there, I believe, 6 years, about 6 years. I guess that's about, I don't want to say too much. I mean, that's about all the noise is unbearable.
But not lately?
No, not in the winter. There's snow on the ground.
Okay.
how can I even sell the house if I have to sell it and people come look at it and this is going on? There's nobody gonna buy it.
Chief, do you have record how many times you've been out there over this issue?
We have been our records, sure.
Even Easter, he ruined my Easter. I couldn't go out and wax my car. There was 2 of them back there.
He's even added insulation to that side of the house.
The new windows and,
When you've been called out, have you been witness to any of this?
no. They always, by coincidence, stopped before they, got here. That one day I came in, was it Michelle? Was the police officer, I forget her name, he had me so worked up, I'm telling you, coming down calling me an asshole at my house. So I'm not, I'm smart enough not to, he either doesn't care or he doesn't understand how loud it is down there. He's right above my house. So, and I did measure it and it's 80 feet. I'm gonna give him 30 yards from my bedroom, so that's all. If we have to move, I'll have to start all over again and,
Has there been any,
That's that.
has there been any attempts from the department to talk to the neighbor through?
Yeah.
Okay.
so you're right, Henry, that's why I'm here, is I'm anticipating it. I'm trying to get it resolved now
Okay.
or know whether I have to have a real estate agent come there.
Okay.
And, it's gonna hurt us, believe me, if we have to move, but I will just move. Now she'll have to, if I move and don't live here, she'll have to leave Muncie Balls, which I'm not gonna have her do. So that means I have to find another place around here to live. And I thought there I'd have some quiet. I guess, I made enough mistakes buying that house. This was just another one, so I guess. But that's my, how do I sell it if that's going on when people come look at it?
Okay, in
I
order.
don't wanna sell it.
Okay. I guess the only thing I can tell you is let's take a look and see where we're at. The gentleman is not aware, is aware of that problem, I
Oh,
can
yeah.
assure you. And okay? That was one of those situations that maybe have been a little bit more done than possible than that, you know. To try to leave your situation down there, I will tell you, I told him to bring that boy and that grandson back and let him ride the four-wheeler in my place. You're more than welcome to do that, to keep the noise away from you.
Well, most people put them on a little trailer or something and take them somewhere.
And so I've made that offer down there.
I have,
Let's-
if I take my
Let's
guitar
see where we're at
amplifiers,
come spring.
if I take some guitar amplifiers and put them outside, I'm not allowed to do that. Not that I'd be that rude to anybody.
As long as you don't get it too loud.
Well, it would be,
You don't beat, there's a decimal requirement just like.
well, I would do
ordinance.
that.
Have you had any decimal testing done?
No.
No.
I've been, I was advised, to come here first. Other than that, maybe the Attorney General's office or get a litigator or a lawyer. I'm not gonna do that. I'll tell you right now, I've had enough of it. That's just gonna cost me, more and more.
Okay.
Have you had any air pollution, particles, air pollution? You said all the dust and everything, have you?
Oh,
had-
yeah.
Have you had any testing done on air quality while they're doing this?
No. I never know when they're gonna do it, when they're gonna stop, or, you know, a dirt track, what that does when people are kicking it up, huh? So,
Okay. Well,
Thank you,
let's,
sir.
did I leave anything here, picture?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
your ordinance and your
I
photos.
think you submitted some of them once before that I looked at.
I submitted a letter, which I thought I had to get in right away, so it's kind of a sloppy letter. I got like 6 hours sleep that day. I remember that I had to go back to work and submitted 3 letters. I think one went to you, and all 3 supervisors got a letter.
Yes.
And I didn't hear anything about it. And Carlson was at the house, I was told, I wasn't there. So that's all.
Okay,
Now, I appreciate you listening to me.
okay,
Thank you.
thank
Mr.
you.
Gordon.
I have some of those dates and
Okay.
examples here. No?
Recognition of visitors, Helen?
Mr. Benner?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Linda Gauss? Bob?
No.
Bob Johnson?
Not this time, I found the soda up here last month.
Henry?
No, not this time.
Cece?
Not at this time.
Mr. Fickle?
Not this time.
Miss Jessie?
Not now, thank you.
Stanley?
See you later.
Lisa Landis?
Yes, thank you. I brought handouts, big on gifts.
Let's see here, we've got 3 here. So how much is required? Let's see. I also brought, let's see, these just for your record. Okay. Thank you.
And chief, just in case, I know you're familiar with that. What I'm bringing tonight is a complaint I had filed back April 30th of 2014. And that's actually 43 weeks to the day ago. Now, you'll see the complaint there on top, and then followed with that are 3 photos I submitted at the time I submitted that nuisance complaint. You'll see there's rain barrels, there's debris, there's bathtubs. Now this is up on Sunshine Hill in Penn Township. So of all of the township, I would hope you'd agree that's one of your least problematic areas. And it is zoned for low residential, so we have all homes. And on either side of this property, you will find residences. I run past this every single morning, and it is not been addressed. I have had conversations with Chief Pickles. I have had conversations with the staff here at the office. And you'll also find in that pack of handouts a Google Street View camera image from 2012, which will just give you an idea of how long this has been an issue. Fast forward, you will find, just in case anyone hasn't seen the bathtubs, this was taken at 8 o'clock this morning. And this is yet to be addressed. And it is far past egregious. And as much conversation that takes place here at the township regarding development and economic development and how we can change things, we're looking at the broken window theory here. And, give it time. As soon as the snow thaws, you're going to see new paint cans there. You're going to see a couple new rain barrels. The problem just keeps growing, and yet no one is taking any steps to remedy it. So I'm bringing this to you tonight, officially on record, asking you township supervisors to please address this issue in our community.
Oh, Miss Landis, I'll promise you something.
Sir.
I will myself personally deal with this issue tomorrow.
I do appreciate that.
Okay.
And I do want to ask Mr. Holman, in all due respect, when I followed up on this last summer, again, I filed it April 30th, 2014, I called continuously throughout the summer checking on the status, and I was told either you, Mr. Holman, were handling it or just the chief of police. There was only the 2 of you that were addressing this issue. That's what I was told. So I will entrust you now. You're giving me your word. I'd love to see these bathtubs gone.
And I had addressed that issue up there, and there was a start, but not a completion to what, you'll have to admit that there was a tremendous change from what was up there. And it was, well, I know what's left, yes, I do. But we had an issue up there with all the bad smell from the bamboo and whatnot, and that took a lot there was some resources there that was used to get that started, by golly, without, in a very diplomatic way. And they got to make them, but it never got finished. And so I will personally address that tomorrow.
I would be grateful,
With the
and
property
if the
owner.
opportunity arises,
Okay.
I could surely put a group of volunteers together to clean it ourselves. So, I mean, the resources are available, just the
Okay.
bathtubs. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Robin Landis?
I do have one question. All right, Chief Pickles, question. What is the policy for dogs left out during bad weather?
Well, I mean, obviously, you
No
take
shelter?
consideration, food and water and shelter and stuff.
No food, no water, no shelter. I was told by one of your officers that there was nothing you guys could do.
No, we go up and tell the people to bring them in, definitely.
Yeah, I was told that there was nothing you could do.
Who was that?
Which I do not, it was a gentleman, I do not remember his name, I'm sorry. At that point, when I heard that, I pretty much saw red.
When was
It was when we were having, about 2 weeks ago, when we had that really nasty cold snap. Neighbors trying to put the dog out for about 4 hours. And the dog was outside barking for 4 hours. My neighbor had called me complaining about it. And I got a hold of the homeowner's phone number. I did leave a message. About a half hour later, I called the township. About an hour after that, I finally got a return call. And the gentleman told me that there was nothing that could be done, which I did not bring it tonight, because actually I wasn't going to say anything. But I did find the Pennsylvania code for sheltering animals, which I have it down, I have everything down, subsection, the whole bit.
Yeah, we have a dog warden too.
Yeah, he had said that the dog warden was currently off duty at that point. So, and to me, it was just very, I'm an animal lover, you know that.
Yeah, me too.
And you don't mess with the animals. This is an inside dog that was put outside, it's an older dog that, you know, something should have been done, and I don't like being told that there's nothing that can be done.
Yeah, do you remember the date?
Give me a minute. Actually, I could, yeah, let me follow up after the meeting with you, because then I can,
And you have my number too. I mean, you
I
should've-
do, and
should've
actually,
just called me.
after I
Call me
had
anytime, Darren.
had that conversation with that gentleman, I very strongly considered calling you, and I figured that was,
That would've,
well, I didn't want to necessarily say overstepping my bounds,
no,
but it's
that's
something
not
that I've been
overstepping your
known to
bounds
do.
at all.
It's something I've been known to do,
No, that's not overstepping at all. Call me anytime.
all right? You got it, and like I said, I can end up,
As I call you when I need something done too. So.
no problem, no problem, all right. Yeah, so I'm glad to know that there is something that can be
Oh,
done.
absolutely. And we've done it several times. You
All right, you know, I don't want any ill will for these people, but
know. No.
there is no way. If I didn't already have dogs in my house, I would have brought that dog down into my house. So,
And I probably would have done the same, or found somebody to put it on.
so. All right, I'm done, thank you.
Okay. Luke? Where are we going? Joe, you're on the agenda. Byron?
Yes, the supervisors requested some information last month. Here is the information.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Very welcome. Any questions on it? Be happy to answer questions. And I do have one request to the supervisors that after the last meeting that Mr. Bob Johnson issue an apology to the Duncannon Fire Company for the comment he made.
After the mass meeting, if the comment was fully heard, the comment that I made when I left the room was, I have taken no problem with the Duncannon Fire Company as I was going out the door. There's just several assholes in the Duncannon Fire Company that I have problems with. You'll find nobody on the street, that'll tell you that I badmouth the Duncannon Fire Company or anybody. But there are assholes in the Duncannon Fire Company.
And
Now,
that's an opinion, and everybody has that opinion everywhere, but
Exactly.
this isn't the forum for those opinions,
And it happened
When you-
before. And
when you're
if
trying
it
to be
inter-
professional.
If it offended anybody, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. I wish I could say more, but I can't.
You say whatever
Can
you
I?
want.
Nope. Now, if that's clear enough or don't nobody understands what it said, let me know.
You have anything else to offer, Brian?
No, just if you had any questions about anything on there, I would, happy to answer anything or get you the answer.
Okay.
You, one thing, well, obviously, like I said, the aircraft accident, that was an error in the report.
Mm-hmm.
The $1,000 was fire loss, and that was the dryer fire at 1 Hickory Drive.
Okay.
The account balances speak for themselves. Training cost $922.50 might seem a little low, but a lot of times when the guys have training through HAC, there is a scholarship through HAC that the training is free, or if it's presented at different fire companies around the county, it's also free. So, $922 in training, if we didn't have those, what do you want to call them, perks with training, that could easily be, $5,000 or so. The equipment cost is pretty much from the relief account. Some of the items under maintenance, you might want to ask why the maintenance is so high. That's aerial testing of the tower truck annually, which is in excess, it's in excess of $1,000. I don't want to. It used to be 1,000 even, and of course it's going up. Everything goes up. And the air sample testing and maintenance of our our breathing apparatus, filling compressor, just things along those lines.
Okay.
I know you had asked for
Yeah.
maintenance cost on each vehicle. Unfortunately, we didn't keep the records
Individually.
tight that way, but we do have the ability to do that, and I made it a point to our treasurer that when we do get a bill for vehicle maintenance, that it be entered in the firehouse software under that vehicle so we can track that per vehicle.
Okay, thanks for that report, Brian.
You're welcome.
That was a quick turnaround, I appreciate that. Those were items that I looked at your budget and what you submitted, and I asked those questions, and I appreciate the immediate response. Okay,
Lee?
next time.
I'm finishing up on 1600 State Road and coming down to the final inspection. And I had a discussion with the engineer, the inspector, and it came up about paving the handicapped parking areas. I spoke with the engineer that I used. He said they really don't need to be paved, but it turns out they are on the plans as paved. So Helen said, why don't you come and see your case? So I included a copy of what he sent me on what the requirements are for a handicap parking spot. And I'm just hoping that I could get away with what the requirements call for instead of paving that area.
Well, I saw your requirements that come in the other day, Lee, and I've looked at this, and I would offer you this. that we stay uniform with this. I think everybody's been here the last several months when we went through with another subdivision out here where we ended up, we didn't want to do what we submitted in plans, okay? We just don't want to do it, so we want to find another avenue why we can't do it. Or I'm asking for relief. And it was all put on the plan up front to really look good. It would have made a much nicer looking road, and the trees would look a lot better, but the township excused them after they went through the proper process, and that was what Solicitor Wagner said had to be done. And it was on that plan, and the guy had to run it back through the planning commission and resubmit it and have it re-recorded in the township. And looking at your case there as to what's on that plan and whatnot, if I were to waive that, surely isn't fair to anybody else that went through this other process. But I would offer, looking at that, and I've looked at it in detail, you got two small areas there, 15 by 20 to put in on a walkway back there that says it's either to be blacktop or concrete, does it not?
Or paved smooth surface.
No, don't say that. See, or paved smooth surface, paved, yeah. Well, let me take a look at it here, real quick. Open it up here, it says, entire area of handicap parking space or aisle must be concrete or paved smooth surface. And that paved smooth surface, I'm sure would entail blacktop or blacktop paving, would it not?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't need to run back through and do something and got to get that approved. And so we don't set a precedent that everybody that submits a nice plan and whatnot, we turn around and just don't look at it, because you're gonna open the door there, every plan that comes in from Joe, by golly, he got an opening, how about it, Joe? I don't mean to drag you in this, but.
I mean, I prepared a plan.
Okay, so the plans there was accepted and was approved. And many a plan is approved on subject to certain conditions or whatnot. That plan there was approved for that. If you want to change it, Lee, and I don't want to see you do that, to have to go back and make an application, send it back through the what you call it, for a revision or for a change in it, like Mr. Stoner did, like some other people have done, and then have it re-recorded. I would offer to you, you got March, you got April here. You have two places there in that apron there that's a 15 by 20. Give you a temporary permit for 60 days to allow you time when the weather breaks to pave those, however your choice, whether it be concrete or blacktop. And then when that's a temporary occupancy, can issue an occupancy, or I wouldn't think that we would want to recommend issuing an occupancy when we just don't follow the plans. So that would give you to the end of April, and I've looked at it, and I thought that would be a very fair solution. Now to give you time to do that and pave that, and that way you can get your temporary occupancy permit. But please, if you could agree to that date and time, please do it, because you're out of business after that.
May I ask one? I'm
Yeah.
going to enter into one thing here. You have to look at the plans. The intent of the plan was to show that the handicapped areas had to meet the wheelchair requirements. It's got to be a smooth surface so wheelchairs can be pushed around. The concrete paved smooth surface, as long as it meets the handicapped accessibility, what's the big deal?
Because that's not what it says.
Yeah, but it doesn't say green building and we'll put blue building up. I mean, you've got to have a little bit of common sense approach to it. Honestly, the whole parking lot's gravel, and you got this area where the handicapped space
And it shows gravel.
That's right.
Okay.
And the intent is just to meet the handicapped accessibility requirements. That's all that is.
And if we do that, and we've held other ones to that same thing, Joe, where's the fairness in the plans? This isn't nothing out here to cause him any grief or anything else. We went through this with another one out there in order to get him a reduction, in order to get it to the point that it could be turned over to the township. He has yet to do that. But he promised he would, and he got his reduction, and he'll finish them shoulders, finish that road. He won't have the trees up, he won't have the stable, and we roll back.
That's a township road. This is a private piece of property where he's just trying to meet the handicapped accessibility. I mean, it has no, come on. I mean, that has no impact on you guys whatsoever.
What's the definition of paved smooth surface?
There's probably not one in your ordinance, probably. You can see what the intent is. It's the
I
handicap.
made up what I think's a decent offer, Joe, and I think that that's more than fair, and that keeps us in compliance with everything else, and don't open the door that somebody else got mistreated, or somebody else was held to something that you guys weren't held to. And that always backfires on you when you allow something like that. We have done this before, issue building permits to let people put footers in, they build a whole building, and it took us 10 years to settle that down because we were easy and we allowed it to happen. I urge you, Lee, take a look at that offer and see if you can agree to that.
Well, I understand totally what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would have to say is I believe that the incident you're talking about is with Mr. Stoner and the paving of his.
And other areas.
And
And other plans, that's not the only one.
Well, that plan I'm familiar with, I've sat here and I've
Yeah,
listened to.
You're
and
right.
fell asleep through a few times, but that was an issue where he was trying to go past what the ordinance calls for. I'm still trying to meet the ordinance requirements, ADA and ANSI, with what I wanna do.
Okay, and you could probably meet that with that, but you don't meet what you have with the plan. And so the plan and that becomes two different things. I had that discussion with Mr. Hollenball from the UCC. It's two different animals, Lee. One's one and the other's another. I don't wanna sit here and argue with it. I offered a solution to you, which a township or other places may not even offer you that. They just say you don't get a permit until you meet the requirements of the plan. And so I looked at it, and in order for you to get open in March like you wanna be, or as soon as you wanna be, they're offer you that temporary. You see what I'm saying? Come on. It takes care that you met the requirements, and we also, by golly, didn't lower the requirements or do something that we shouldn't be doing. And I thought that was a fair offer. And in my mind, as far as I'm said, what I've said, they can put it in a form of a motion. And I figure that gives you fair time to put something in there that you want. And enough good weather to do it.
Yeah, we definitely haven't had good enough weather to do anything like that now.
I haven't had much good weather either to get a lot of things done. This area here, Brian, that and this right here. And that apron that was going to be in it, those are the ideas. The rest of this is all blacked up. But they all say the same there.
Well, just as long as we all understand, I'm not trying to do anything that is not code or
No,
out of the book.
no.
I will plead ignorance when it comes to a plan. This is the first time I went through something like this. Maybe I should have read it a little closer. I didn't. But
That's the quickest and easiest way, Lee. You could probably take that back and have Joe make another plan, show something different, and run it through the planning commission. And 2 months down the road, you'll get that approval through the proper process that way.
okay, so the temporary permit would be to complete that after I've met all the other requirements that Mr. Hollenball has.
Now, if you want, Mr. Hollenball doesn't have any other requirements except probably on the other buildings. This lot area here and that part over there, I understand, is yours. Those others are individual permits that come out.
Correct, but what
Okay.
I'm getting at is the area that I am responsible for,
Is,
once I meet all the other requirements that he has, the
that's
fun.
go ahead. 60 days, Lee.
I'm talking about putting the handicap signs up, I'm talking about putting the exit signs in the doors, that's what I'm referring to. His requirements, or requirements that are on that. So the 60 days is basically the only thing you need out of me then, after I meet the other requirements, is that paved, that area.
If you want a temporary permit, from which I understand before anybody else is ready, for your area, I'm willing to see that you get a temporary occupancy permit, or I make that motion, Lee, subject to you having those completed in 60 days.
Okay.
And the rest of what Mr. Hollenball is gonna require has nothing to do with that.
Oh, I understand.
this
What I'm
is-
saying
yeah.
is, I need to complete all the other steps before that's
No, you don't have to. This will get you your permit to open your building
okay,
and your requirement around there.
okay.
Can you agree on the last day of an April date? Of April?
April 30th.
My eyes aren't that good.
April 30th.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. April 30th.
You got it.
Yeah, the last day of April.
Huh? Okay. See, that's gonna be a one-way meeting back.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
back in.
Well, and that's what my question is, it says smooth surface, it doesn't say what the surface has to be. It could be tar and chip as a smooth surface. It could be concrete, it could be blacktop, it doesn't specify what is a smooth surface. So that's my question, if you tars and chips it, is it going to pass as a smooth surface?
Yes.
Okay, and this out here is gravel leading up to it,
Correct.
okay?
So my question is what's the definition of smooth surface?
302.
It's
What
whatever,
the-
it's whatever the
302.
building code people review as approved by the building code.
Yeah.
The UCC,
Yes, correct.
Brian,
okay.
it's 302. That's the handicap code for, that's the ANSI code that they use for handicap accessibility.
And Lee's okay with following that.
Okay, so it's a floor surface shall be stable, firm, and slip resistant, and shall comply with the section 302. Changes in the level floor surface shall comply with 303. So again, it doesn't say it has to be concrete, it doesn't have to be blacktop. It's whatever the UCC will determine if that's, and have you spoke to UCC referencing to chip and tar as permissible to them?
The material he wants to use was approved by them.
Okay, so it's just waiting for the weather to break for you to do that. Because here on the plans, it just says smooth surface, it doesn't say blacktop or concrete. As long as the
Henry's saying
UCC,
with blacktop on it.
Prefers concrete or smooth surface there.
Paved. So it's
Paved, yeah,
Be some-
paved, says paved.
paved, smooth surface.
Says paved,
Could you put pavers?
says paved.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I understand you're asking for blacktop, or you're asking for concrete. And why would the standard for this, what's the size are we talking about?
The size of just the handicapped accessible parking.
15 by 20.
Yeah.
So a bituminous that is paved with a roller, making it a smooth surface is not acceptable? When it's acceptable on our township roads? That's my question.
I don't think
This is a small
anybody,
section.
I don't think anybody said that bituminous
He doesn't
paving
wanna
with the
do that.
roller was
He doesn't wanna
unacceptable.
do that, he wants to do some other.
I'm just curious why it's specified as a requirement for him to get a conditional.
I don't know why it's specified on the plan, I didn't put that on there.
Blacktop
He
or
agreed to it.
concrete. I'm just concerned with it being restricted to those two materials.
Yeah,
when there are
the
other
intent,
options.
and intent was for a smooth surface, that's what the intent was.
That's correct.
The intent's for a smooth surface.
So as long as that complies, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily required that it's.
Up here at the top of the plans, it says, the
I just wanted to
base
clarify.
and an island must be a concrete or paved smooth surface. So therefore, again, that now leaves another question, concrete or paved surface. So again, there seems to be another definition for the paved surface. It's not necessarily concrete or blacktop. A stable paved surface
Right.
As long as it meets the requirements of.
of the
section
UCC.
That's what I
Three
said.
oh two
As long as it
Oh,
meets
the
that.
ANSI.
referring to 303. As long as we're within those requirements, it's good, right?
Why spend the money, put another plan together, submit it, go to
And that's
the-
what I'm saying. Why you wanna put another plan together, that's just what I'm trying to get around for you, Joe. I'm not asking you to make another plan.
I thought that's what you said, put another plan in showing
No,
that.
no,
I thought you said
no.
Joe
That
could
was
go back.
I said I'm trying to save you
Oh.
that. I
Oh.
don't wanna see you do that.
I thought you said Joe could go back and make this change real quick and get that back to the planning commission.
What's that?
I thought you said Joe could go back and make this quick change and get it back to the planning commission.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just.
No.
That's what I heard.
I said,
That was
That
an
was
option.
you wouldn't have anything to do if we issued you a temporary occupancy permit if you fixed those two areas on a 60-day issue for a temporary occupancy permit. Just to give you a permanent occupancy permit and then it never happen or ever get done is my concern, because we've had that happen to us before, Joe. So you don't need to make another plan. That's why I'm trying to save you that cost by making you that offer. You won't have to do that. Comply with what's on this subdivision plan that was drawn up and says that. I didn't put that on there. You people did it, agreed to it. And somewhere along the line, I'm sure it was discussed what you were gonna put in there, concrete, blacktop, or whatever.
Well, Thomas Metz, is he our UCC,
He's the
No, no, no.
engineer that I've used also.
is your
He's
engineer?
the building engineer, yeah.
Yeah.
Building engineer.
No,
I talked to the UCC code man, I just made that statement. And he said that they can be acceptable out there. And I said, who's they? He said the state. Well, maybe accept this ADA. But he agrees with me that the plan and that statement there is two different issues. The plan don't state that that's what you're allowed to put there.
But you know, if there was an ordinance requiring a specific item to be placed there, and we were going to something different, I would agree with you. But there's no requirement in the ordinance
If
that
you
says
wanna
it
do
has
it
to
that
be
way, Joe,
concrete
go
pavement.
back and redo another plan and refile it and send it through the planning commission. Please.
That's not what he's saying
Please,
at all.
that's what I'm telling you not to do. You don't have to do that if you fix those two spots up. If you want to do that, go ahead. But 2 months down the road, you don't have even a temporary permit to get in there. Is
We're
that
just
hard to
gonna
understand?
just be done with it.
Okay,
Don't,
okay, that's fine, you.
You don't, you want to run it back through there and
No, I don't
re-record a
want
plan?
to.
No, I don't want to see it either. I don't want to see that happen.
Is that the only condition of the plan that is in question at this point in life?
That's
or-
it, Jody. Just fix those two things down there.
And
Give-
we're,
And to give him a temporary occupancy permit if he agrees to have them straightened up with a good, smooth, hard surface that the wheelchairs or later on driving over them. There's one area you're gonna be driving over, and if it's just compacted dirt and stuff, you know sooner or later it's gonna loosen up, drive over, and put something across there that is permanent. You could.
I'm not arguing with you at all.
You know what I'm saying?
My only point, and again, I'll claim dumb girl here, because I'm not an engineer. My only point was, as long as that's compliant with what is on the plan, A, and B, and what the standards of the township are. I
Okay.
don't want it micromanaged, and I want it to be
No,
just as
and I don't-
acceptable as every other standard that's applied.
If it
No
says
special treatments.
concrete, that's a
No
pretty
special
hard
treatment.
surface, isn't it? And a paved surface is usually a hard surface like we put out here for our cars to drive on.
And a bituminous is also, and many other ones, as long as you're running that roller over it and putting that, I grew up in a house full of non-engineers,
Mhm.
so I get it, I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to, for the record, clarify, this was the last issue that was of exception with that plan.
Trying to get you an occupancy permit, get you in there.
Henry,
Perfect,
we'll
you
get
got
it, we'll get it covered. It will, those two spots will be covered. When you come down there to buy your flowers, April 29th, they'll be covered.
I don't plant flowers, I don't eat ice cream, but I do like the idea of the bakery there, I do like Bradley.
Well, you made a motion, is that gonna be followed up on, or
What's that?
for the 2 months?
Yeah, and if he's not.
You made a motion.
Yeah, if he's not compliant to 2 months, well, he
You
done.
made a motion,
Yeah.
are you gonna follow up on it, or?
Sure, I gladly will. I'll call
Let's
for the
get on
motion.
with it.
I've left it open
Is there
for
gonna be a
discussion.
second from one of those other guys?
I'll
I'm
second the
calling for a
motion.
second
I
on that
second the
motion.
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. That helps us comply with our plan. You comply too, Lee. It's easy that way.
Bob Johnson has a question.
Yes, Bob.
see, Jody will tell you, I gotta make apologies all the time. But what I'd be curious is, Mr. Hollaball, apparently the one that brought it up or called it to the attention, did he come up with a recommendation of what he would accept?
He
No.
stood down there and told me that he would even take recycled asphalt that Mr. Fernley Frisch sells, rolled in, and he'd be happy with it.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Helen tells me that the one down here, Lee would like to get an occupancy permit down there. And so I question the issue on all these, when you go out and take a look at them at the very end. All these plans before were overlooked, were not followed up on, and believe you me, over the years, it's cost us an awful lot of trouble. And I can show you some that were really, because there was nobody went out on the completion of it. And so I took it upon myself to look at the plan a little harder to see what was required. And I called Mr. Hollenball, which I stated one more time. And he told me exactly where it was, but he realizes that what he can allow and what the plan says, and he knows our situation. If you have a plan that comes in to build a building so big, the footer is so big and this and that, he has to respect that, he has to comply, and the builder that agrees to that plan and what he's gonna build has to comply what was approved on that plan. So it's not rocket science, Lee. I thought that was the easiest way out.
That's fine, that's fine.
Okay?
I was just asking for a variance on what I was doing. I'm staying within code with what the requirements are, just so we all understand. I didn't ask for anything that was not approved by ADA and Nancy.
Okay.
Okay.
But it didn't meet your plan.
It
I
didn't
understand, I
meet
know
the
that's a hard
footprint
thing
up
to
there of that
understand.
plan.
And that's exactly what we get caught in. Exactly what we get caught in,
No problem.
okay?
And,
Thanks.
and just so you understand, I'm gonna take Mr. Hollenball's recommendation and probably call Fernley Frisch and put recycled asphalt down. Is that okay?
Is it a hard, smooth surface?
Yeah, there you go.
I'd have to question our chief's ability to offer decisions on engineering practices.
Has your driveway held
looks
up?
the same.
Has your driveway held up?
I was
You got two
surprised.
questions.
No, it definitely looks like regular asphalt.
Quick, Mr. Fickles, then we want to move on.
Again, is this the turn of a new leaf now? Can we expect all future plans to be strictly adhered to?
Pardon?
as this one is?
And we are trying to do that, yes, because in the past it wasn't taken care of and it caused us a lot of problems. Some of them drug on, by golly, with people were building whole buildings because there was no follow-up on the township side, and it was not it's not fair to the young couple or someone wants to go out and build a house that complies with everything and has no complaints. It is not fair.
So we can expect to see this to continue like this.
Well, we've been trying to do it, yes.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. Yes.
After on the plan, there was never anything there to show any type of other materials on there as far as depth. Can you give some idea how much material or how deep or what you have to do there? Because that's definitely gonna be
Talk to your engineer there about that.
Yeah, we'll follow up with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We'll get the code, and believe me.
Jody's on the right track.
303, Mr. Burgett, we got this. I promise you, before April 30th.
April 30th, Jody, thank you. Okay, let's move on.
Jody's the next.
Yeah, probably 302 me at that point.
Jody, you have anything?
Unfortunately, and I didn't have anything, but I do have a few things only because that comment was made. I'm just curious, and it's just a simple answer. Two questions actually, Byron, and it's Byron, not Brian, right? You're Byron. Byron, you indicated that you didn't have the breakdown because it wasn't how it was keyed in. Are they able to produce the invoices that identify the vehicle that the service was made to? Or do they shred those? I'm just curious what the
Repeat the question?
When Henry asked the question about because I know this is gonna be a question that's gonna come up later, so precedent setting, I'm curious. You said it wasn't entered in the firehouse software, so you weren't able to do a breakdown by vehicle, but you would be able to go back to produce the invoices that
Yeah, we have
identify
all
what
the-
vehicle.
we have all
So you
invoices.
keep those? Got it, okay, that was just one point of clarification. The other was, and I understand the request for the apology, that's all due respect. I am curious because the comment was made outside, and I'm only questioning this because there was some conversation a few days after the meeting that was shared with me that, Byron, you were gone when that comment was made. So who was it that brought that to you to request that it was made about the Duncannon Fire Company?
Somebody was sitting in the audience at the time of the meeting.
So it was a member of the public, it wasn't,
Absolutely.
okay. All right,
Jody, incidentally, the comment, if you listen to our tape, was while the meeting was still in session, and it was made right in this building here. It was
yeah,
made.
it was made going out the door, but if you listen carefully,
Is
it
it-
wasn't made of the
So-
company in general.
You know what I'm saying? And so, something like that don't take long to fly.
I heard that there were board member discussions about it
Yeah.
otherwise, and all due respect, I believe the appropriate apologies were made. Byron, are you satisfied with that, or?
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
And just a suggestion for you, Jody, is the same thing we do with all the municipalities we serve. They do know who the official contacts are with the organization, so they can take what anybody else says with an unofficial grain of salt and get
Absolutely,
the appropriate information, or the official information from the appropriate people.
absolutely.
I think I got everyone. Nothing? Okay, that's it, Henry.
Okay, thank you. Invoices and expenditures before you. Okay,
Other than the normal expenses, we made a payment for rock salt this month.
pardon?
We
Okay.
made a payment for rock salt
Okay,
for a total of 44 tons of rock
Okay.
salt.
Check number for two.
any questions from any members of the
Ritu's
board?
check, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, call for a motion to approve the invoices and expenditures and pay the bills.
That's a check number.
To make the motion, there require two motions because I have to abstain.
I understand, that's what
That's
I'm
why
saying.
All right, I second the motion.
I didn't make a motion.
Okay.
Oh.
I explained why I didn't want to.
Oh, okay, oh, I thought Henry made the motion.
Okay. I will make the motion to pay the invoices and expenditures. And,
Okay,
and go ahead.
I was just gonna second it.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so
I
ordered. Pay
accept
the
that I
bills.
abstained from voting on check number 028086 to Two Associates because I'm a part-time employee.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Okay, before you.
We received one of our monthly payments from Cap Tax for the EIT. And we got a nice check from Barbara for taxes.
First half of February.
Okay, is that all? No further comments, Libby? Okay, I'll make a motion that we pay we accept the treasurer's report subject to audit.
I second the motion.
Motion made with second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Park and
CD.
Rec, CD?
There's one CD, Park and Rec, that matures on March 10th. And Karen Tolkins has requested it that it be invested at Mifflin Town Bank in a municipal easy access CD at 0.65%.
I hear a motion of recommendation of the rec board on the deposit of the CD.
I make that motion.
Motion made. Second,
I second.
all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Minutes for January 29th, 2015.
I make the motion that we accept the minutes as is.
Okay.
I second the motion.
A motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, so ordered. Highway report, Helen? Quotes, two-way stone,
Yes, I'm
number
asking,
8, and our oil.
yes, I'm asking for authorization to advertise for quotes bids,
Okay,
and we'll send out to the normal people we normally do.
okay. I'll make a motion that we give Helen the authorization to advertise for the quotes on the stone,
So
number
this
8.
isn't advertised in the paper? This
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is.
I put it in the paper, also sent
Must
out,
be notified these individuals
Yes.
from the past. Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go on for a second.
I second the motion.
All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay, highway report. Not much to report, except every other day we're out there fighting the storms and the weather, let me tell you. We did fill in our ash bin or our skid bin today to the top off. And, we glad that was done because they called where we get it and said their equipment was broke down and could no longer give us any more for till
Couple
probably
days.
Friday, a couple days. So we're full, we're ready to go. Since last month, we replaced our snow blades on the plows out there. We double up on them once we have a new blade with the old blade, and gives us about twice the wear out of them. But when you're plowing a half-inch of snow, or you're trying to cinder snow, and then plow it off or get it off, it's really tough on the snow blades. There's not too much lubrication out there. So much of this is just not enough to plow. Of course, the other night we did get some to plow. We replaced the spinner deflector on one truck out there. We desoldered the trucks out there in pressure washed. They need it again, and I'm not sure how soon we're gonna get that. Monday looks like the warmest day. We repaired the light switch for Helen, the road crew, and us come in here and put a new light out here, a new switch out here, a new ballast out here, and got the lights working down the hall, some of the little items that we do. My concern is that snow tomorrow, they're calling for from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, less than an inch, 60%. That is the hard snow that is hard to keep the roads. They just, cold temperature, salt don't work so very well, and they drive over them, they go right down. Can't plow it. All we could do is skid it. And it takes a tremendous amount of stuff to stay on top of that until it warms up enough to get it off. And $72 a ton for salt. We tried to be a little, we used an awful lot of salt this year, more than normal, but we're still within our budget on that coming up. I will say that I looked at the forecast for the weather. March the 3rd, we're supposed to have snow showers on Tuesday, 70% snow on Wednesday, and right on until Friday, winter remix. I mean, on to the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. So possibly looking at more of it next week. The extreme cold has really given us fits out there, but we've found plenty to stay busy. I would like to add that I believe that our road survey is coming up, and we usually do that on the same day that we do that on the chicken barbecue. There's tickets available for the rec board and the chicken barbecue. So please participate in that and help out the rec board out here with their endeavor. And I wanted to remind that for the other two supervisors that road survey will be conducted that morning. Okay?
8 o'clock, right?
8 o'clock, yes. Okay? And so we need to get that off our. Yes, Stanley?
Butcher Shop Road, the west end,
Mhm.
all those drifts.
What about Stanley?
What about them?
Yeah, what about them?
That was pretty
I
good.
can't keep it from drifting, I can only plow it back.
Yeah, had about a lane and a half out there, and one morning I actually dowed Bloomfield to get a truck out there. Wasn't even one lane. I was in four-wheel drive slipping around. And,
Okay.
I talked to the neighbor out there, he said, don't they have a big old New Holland out there with a bucket? So I don't know.
Let me tell you something, Stanley.
He wondered why he didn't come out and knock it back to the bucket.
Okay. Not too many years ago, that road was left drift shut a couple times, and we had to go back out there and bucket it open. I never heard one complaint. But I will say that this particular issue that you're talking about out there, that road was plowed that morning. When the shift went off at 3 o'clock, they were out, and we interviewed a police officer that night, and we plowed that stuff back late that night. When you made the call into the county, I received that call, and we were at the shed headed out because we had it scheduled next morning to plow snowdrifts. I was on my way up for a 6 o'clock start. That call came in at 5:28. So they can't say, and the school bus drivers, I haven't had a complaint from any school bus driver this year. I've had compliments from the school for about $1 million maintained, and that's not the only area that drifts. We also have Sawmill down there that drifts bad, that we plow back, and we've maintained them, and we have had a regular schedule to keep those those roads plowed. Now, it's no different than the other night when we plowed till midnight, and the last road I done was your place up there, widened it completely back and cindered it hard, and we went home. Well, we were scheduled in first thing in the morning, because it got warm, to plow the slush off. So it's not that we're not scheduling it, it's not that we don't know the wind's blowing, and it's not that we don't know that it's drifting. We are taking care of them on a regular basis. We no sooner plowed yours out there after your call at 5:28, when we were on our way in, that we got a call about 8 o'clock with a Commonwealth phone number that the roads drifted shut out there, and we just came off of it. And we returned, and there was nothing there. So we answer all those calls, and some of them, I think, are just nothing but about short of harassment. We have it down
You're here. not saying my call's harassment.
Okay, so that's,
I'm asking you, you saying my call's harassment?
no, I didn't say that. We have
Well,
some
you
other
damn well
ones.
better not say that, because I
Some
called
of-
because that road.
Some of the other
road
ones,
wasn't
I'd like to
traveled.
explain that to you, Stanley. We had some other ones where we've had calls like that, and they used other people's names to get someone out in the road, and you went out, and there you were plowing that road, and I get a call from the county. And when you get calls like that, there's no reason for them. Then I call back to the county, don't know who it was, didn't get it in there. One of them we did trace back, and we know where it was, and I got to talk to that individual, and she was worried that she would lose her job because she used her employer's name, that the roads was drifted, or wasn't drifted, that they weren't plowed, and it was totally erroneous. And so, those type of calls end up that they're a little bit
I know
harassed.
when I call the 582 number, I always,
Yeah.
first thing I always say, this is Stanley Mutz.
Yes, sir.
From Duncan.
That's right.
I always tell them that first thing.
Then, so I'm not saying that, but we have other ones that happens that way. And in your particular calls, we were at 6 o'clock start to plow the roads back, make sure they're cleared for the buses, and we had that scheduled and planned.
I was gonna say, I come down around the building and there's nobody's truck.
No, we, 6 o'clock. Your call came in at 5:28, I was coming up the road when I got that on my cell phone. And as a matter of fact, the base had it fouled up. I even called back because they said Butcher Shop Road and Holman Drive, Holman Road. And I called back and wanted to know who the call came in, and they told me who the,
Hoffman Road.
and they had it wrong. They apologized, they said Hoffman. So we got back to the call, and we were already on our way out
It was
because
drifted down that corner all.
I had just come down out Holman Drive and out Sawmill, and I wondered why they would say that. And I was gonna let it go, but I called back. And so it was Hoffman Road. But we were there shortly, as soon as we get the trucks out to take care of them. One went down to the cove, one went out there. So we do have a schedule, and we do make our trips, and we put someone out there every so many hours to roll those strips back. Okay? That's all I have on the highway report. Penn Township Planning Commission.
Okay, you have a Glenn and Donna Ebersol land development plan. And a mailer.
What we're doing is, Mr. Ebersol wants to cut off a lot for his son. You can see the shaded area there. 2 acres. This is in clean and green, so he doesn't want to convey any more than 2 acres to violate clean and green. Ebersol Drive's Township Road. What we want to do is just have a road frontage lot, and the driveway will come off the Township Road, go up over a pretty steep hill, and come into where the house is set. Driveway is designed to be 12%. You can see we have a swale on the right-hand side that's collecting the runoff from the driveway, and takes it down to the roadway. Planning Commission has recommended the approval of this plan with the condition that Max looks at the swale calcs to make sure that the existing pipes down at Ebersol Road will handle the runoff coming down along the driveway. Max has been sick. We've been trying to work with him, but he's been pretty sick and off work for the last week, so we'll handle that as soon as he gets back to work. Other than that, it's a pretty simple plan. We've got primary backup testing sites for the lot. Site distance, we did have one issue with that. If you look at the cover sheet, you can see that Ebersol Drive ends back at the farm. So we don't have site distance going to the north because the road stops there. But we do have site distance going down toward Delville Road. So we've asked for a waiver of site distance only because we don't have site distance to the end of the township road. This isn't posted. Technically, you got to use the 55 miles per hour requirements. Yeah, that's fine, but you have to do it. So all the calculations on the plan are based on 55. I don't think anybody's going to start at the end of the road and come and get 55 by the time we get 400 feet down to our driveway. So I think it's justified that we can get a waiver of that requirement. But. Any questions?
Yes, Joe, I see you corrected the length of the highway. We're going clear on back behind
We
the
did.
barn. Was too far.
It was too far.
Okay, okay, I appreciate that.
Yes, it
You got a new plan here that shows 15-inch pipe instead of 12-inch pipe in there?
Yep.
Okay, and I don't know, where's that at? Still says 12 here unless you
Yeah.
got a new one.
I actually have, I didn't print out the new ones, I don't think.
Okay.
I didn't print out the new ones to bring them along. I submitted them, I need to submit them to Max. I actually have some additional grading up here at the top
Okay.
of the house to direct some of the runoff away from this. But they are 15-inch pipes.
Okay.
Most definitely.
I had talked to Max earlier today about this because I know we need stormwater drainage calculations, and he is sick, he can barely talk to me on the phone.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
About that particular end, I'd like to comment for the other supervisors here, that those two pipes going across there was an issue about the swale and the water coming down here, being dumped in here, whether that would handle that. Those two pipes that are out there drain Sherman's Creek after it comes up higher, more than it does anything else. I've never seen any water in there. When the state put the new bridge in, they channeled all the water that comes down around the bend into a retention basin and put a new pipe in there. They put a retention basin in there, put a dam in it. They went farther on in Ebersol Road and put another culvert. So all the water that comes down around the loop there in Delville is caught and channeled in from what the state put in. They run that road in there a good couple 100 feet, and they put those new culvert pipes in there. That road lays level back there. But I've seen it before we replaced the old pipes that were completely collapsed and shut. Sherman's Creek come up over the road, and that far side of it laid to the center of the road on a slope, and there was a lake in there for a week before it would drain out. we put new pipes in there when we paved it. That takes the water back into Sherman's Creek when the level goes down. So I don't see why anything on that as far as I'm concerned with Max, that they wouldn't handle that little bit of water off that one driveway. Plus, this is all grass area that they don't plow, they don't farm it, it's a sod area. Wanted to comment on that. You and I had talked about the site distance before, which wasn't shown, which is a requirement of the planning commission. They want to see them on the plans. And I'd like to bring it to the attention of the supervisors that starting out here, from this house to here, is where he can't get the distance. And I think the sensible solution to that is that you show the site distance going out the other way,
Right.
okay, and that the supervisors entertain the idea that we waive the requirements for the north side. And that, because it goes to a dead end right at his house, there's no way you could get it.
Right.
And so, all those things that we had talked about previously, you've done, and like to see that site distance and those statements put on the drawing.
Yeah, they're,
Okay?
yeah, site distances were put on.
Well, I
there.
didn't, I was looking
No, you're
for, I was
fine.
looking for here at the whatchamacallit,
Yeah.
right there. They're usually drawn out there with an arrow. You got them up there.
Yep.
Okay. You got it, okay. And so, it would take a motion and a second from the board if they want to waive that on the site distance requirement from there towards the homestead.
Right.
They have an AOR request in for
Yeah.
that.
Pardon?
They have an
No, you
AOR
are
request.
requested, yes. I make a motion that we honor the AOR request in regards to that particular site distance.
Okay.
The AOR being
For ordinance 117.
Okay. Make a motion that we grant that AOR request, okay?
Do you want to put all the other AORs from
No,
the,
let's-
just as,
Are they
okay.
all,
Yeah, there's,
There's 6 of them.
yeah, including that one.
Preliminary plan,
somewhere along the line, I don't have
Procedure.
them here in front of me.
You have the
plan
letter.
scale.
Oh, my God, here we go, right here. Haven't got back to that.
Preliminary plat, since there's only one lot. Plan scale, map scale, stormwater management. That's so we don't have to put detention ponds and all that in. The water comes out of this swale and dumps right into the Sherman's Creek. Erosion sedimentation control plan. We've actually have provided the ENS plan. All the measures are on the plan. We just don't want to get the county review because we are less than an acre disturbance. And the site distance for the driveway.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept all those AORs conclusively?
Or are you going to amend yours?
Pardon?
Or you're going to amend yours? Motion.
Yeah, we'll include them in mine. I did talk to Max up there, and he apologized for not having the calcs up there, so the plan would be approved subject to
That's right.
execution
Yeah, I
until
can
he gets them in here.
Yep, I can understand completely.
Okay.
Yeah, I can barely even hear him on the phone. He's
Yeah.
in pretty bad
He
shape.
was in bad shape,
Yeah. Today he felt pretty good, he said.
yeah.
Didn't sound it.
How good it was.
So you're requesting for this to be in conjunction with
Yeah,
the
With his-
motion? So we just need you to finish the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. On regards to the site distance there. Okay.
All the AORs or
Yeah,
just the site
yeah.
distance?
Are you making a motion that we approve all the
The
AORs?
AORs, yes.
Okay, do you want to include, subject to approval of the stormwater management calculation?
That's,
in here.
that's under the plan on the bottom,
The bottom.
on the next page.
Yes.
There should be also be a condition to the waivers too, because there's a stormwater waiver.
Yeah.
So that would
Okay.
probably be a good idea to add that
Okay,
condition. in.
yeah, that's number, section 407. It's contingent upon the engineer approval.
No, I'm talking about stormwater, which is
Mm-hmm.
406.
No,
And there
but,
should be an additional condition?
No, I just think since the waiver of stormwater is what Max is reviewing, you should do a conditional recommend approval of the waivers conditional that Max is okay with it, because he hasn't really reviewed.
You have
the
a question on Brian, says this recommendation contingent upon the engineer's approval of the stormwater calculations of the driveway swell.
Yeah,
So we want to make the motion to approve all the AORs and to
He
include,
doesn't have them in. Due to them being.
407 is where they put the condition on.
Okay, I see it.
And that was the question on the sheeting and the water down there. I
Yes.
physically was out there and looked at the site twice.
and it's contingent upon the following terms.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so those concerns are addressed in the
Yeah.
contingent on page 2.
Yes. It's also in there under the plan approval contingency. You want to make sure you did it.
Joe gives me this, and I didn't look at the plan and how it had it during the AOR.
Oh, don't matter.
So the motion that you're proposing is to approve all the AORs and,
With the contingency associated with 407.
correct. And,
Well, no, that's plan, approving the plan separate from the AOR's approval.
correct. And that you're, okay, can you read it back, please?
He motioned to approve all the AORs with the contingency for section 407, and we're waiting for a second on the AORs.
I second the motion.
Okay.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. so
Okay,
ordered.
now we're doing the plan,
Okay.
Okay.
with the 5 contingencies on the back.
That's it. That's contingencies.
Okay.
Okay?
This engineer seal, certificate of ownership, engineer approval of the stormwaters, sewage planning exemption, and highway determination of the drainage pipes. We'll handle additional flow.
I make a motion that we approve those 5, subject to all fees being paid, and Joe's statement that he agrees to these conditions.
I agree to those conditions.
There you go.
No, your motion was to approve those 5, that has nothing to do with approving the plan. You want-
No, approving the plan with these 5 contingencies and the fees being paid.
Fees being paid.
Is that your motion?
Yep, that's my motion.
Second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, next thing is a mailer exemption for sewer. Lenny's already signed it, I just need permission to sign it and get it back to Joe.
Okay, I make a motion we give Helen the authorization to sign the mailer and get it where it belongs.
I second.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and the only other
Thank
thing.
you, Joe.
Sure.
If you wait a second, I can find it and get it to you. I know I got it in here. Everything in here.
I'll stop down.
Is the 2000, yeah, I can get it for you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I'll stop down.
Okay. Is the 2014 summary from the Planning Commission. Oh, here it is, Joe. You want to get it, or?
Yeah, if you want
Do
to
we need a
sign it.
motion to accept their
That's good.
summary? Tanner?
What's that? Yes. Go ahead.
I move that we accept the Penn Township Planning Commission 2014 summary.
I second.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay,
That's all I have for Planning Commission.
okay. Zoning report before you. Any questions on that? There's your,
You'll see, oh, no, the zoning is not that one.
you have your storage enforcement officer report before
Yeah.
you.
And you'll see that they have the spur lane on there, where he went out and did the,
Testing on the.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Penn Township Park Recreation Board report.
Yes, you have my report before you. I was asking for approval of our changes. You have our bylaws, and Article 2, Paragraph 4 has been revised, and also Article 4.
Before the board offer a decision as to whether they want to grant these changes in their constitution. The recommendation is number 4, you got Article 4. I make a motion that we grant these requests for the change in their bylaws.
I second.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
And the only other thing I have is our chicken barbecue, which is March 28th. And Penn Fire Company has been generous enough to come up and help us again with an excellent showing and the work they did last year. And tickets are available in the office if anybody wants to purchase them.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Penn Township Municipal Authority.
I have nothing.
Okay.
You know.
Just like to give the board a little bit of an update of where we've been standing. We had our monthly meeting with the JOAC, and our plans for this summer is to finish the rest of Market Street. So that will take care of all Market Street's upgrades that we have been doing for the last couple of years, and hopefully that don't impact the community too much over the summertime. The other thing is our water system up in Sunshine Hill. We have acquired grants of over 500-some thousand right now, and we have the opportunity to apply for another grant of approximately $250,000 to be applied with that for the secondary phase of our upgrades, which, if it's successful, we should know here in another month. And upon all the paperwork being completed and established, hopefully we can have this thing out for bid by April, sign bid agreement contracts in May, and hopefully by June we can get this thing together and have this thing back online by the end of the year, because that's the requirements for the grants to have the money spent. So we're running a very tight schedule, and we're in the process of trying to come up with this extra money, which we can do 2 phases at one time, which is more bang for our buck. All this is from all these surveys from all these years that we've done. We've put a bunch of diligent energy into this, walking around trying to get the support of the surveys to make this happen. And we've been very successful for it, but it took many years for it to happen. So that's just to give you folks an update. If anybody's any questions, let me know. Did you say you went somewhere, Lee? You have anything?
Yeah, I do, actually I do.
I figured you would.
Well, you touched on it, and you know, going around doing those surveys, the municipal authority needs to be commended for that. I did it years ago, not now, and it was a son of a gun. The guys that are on that municipal authority doing it now, that they should really be commended for it, because that is an ugly task.
We've probably done that survey 3 times so far. And it's a requirement to keep that survey current to even qualify for grants. And every time they say it's due, they give you a short window, so you gotta rush around, satisfy their needs to make sure that they are happy with it.
In the cold.
And most of the time, it's in the cold in the winter time, yeah, so. It's been a tough project, but it's been well worth it. Hopefully the end results, everybody can see and hear about it at the end of the year. I'll try to keep you updated monthly if I hear anything different. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the report. I'm glad to see that finally gonna get water up there and get that situation straightened out. Been a long time. Secretary's report.
Okay, the first thing you have is finally got the monitoring review back from Liquid Fuels. Just in time for them to call me up to want to do the 2-year audit on Tuesday.
Okay.
So, it was a good review. They were very pleased with how we keep our investment program for the funds and also the paperwork in order. The second thing is this trade alley? Alley? Yeah, Mr. Rowan came into the office, and they're off, PP&L, they're working through PP&L, are offering free and with no obligation facility assessments for lighting, to get away from these old ones to more cost efficient. Our PP&L bills are the garage, the street lights, and the traffic light. I don't know if he would do this building as an obligation, being that this is under borough electricity. We could ask him and find out. My question is, should I go further and check into this?
That's how we talked about that before. Anywhere that there's a return on it for a savings, I would recommend, or make a motion that you talk to the gentleman or have him come in and take a look to see what he could do, if he can,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Maybe worth a while, maybe they can't do anything since it's not a PP&L
Yeah.
provided current, okay?
Do you wanna do the garage too, to check? I know you have those big 8-footers down there.
Well, we never have them on.
I know.
I don't.
We see that with the bill.
Huh?
We see that with the bill.
Yeah, I don't, they're not left on all the time like they were before,
Yeah.
they're never on,
Yeah.
so.
And there's some grant money with this, or rebate money, is how they put it. That would cover up to 75% of the cost if we can do it. So,
Would you be able to include the firehouse in that?
that one,
We are PP&L.
I'll give you the numbers to call him.
Thank you.
So-
What's your motion?
Well,
Check into it at least for the
to see
building.
whether he can take a look at doing this since they're PP&L related, this program, and we're not buying electric off of them, whether they're still willing to take a look at it, if they can tell you where the savings are on it, they're, on it, I mean, they're, that's, one of the things that PP&L does, is go out here and provides energy efficient programs, you know what I'm saying? It's the same way they now own McClure Company, and that's our biggest part of our work where we were. They go out and schools, and new units, and energy efficient things. They take a look at it and show you what you can do and show how much you can get your return on your investment. I don't know what would be out in the garage except 3 light bulbs in the big bay and a couple 8-footers out there, those big sodium ones that's in the other side. We never use that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if
I
you,
second the motion.
okay, second the motion, I thank you. Motion made and second, all those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
When you come in, Helen, if he comes in, if I'm here, we'll take him out and show him the garage,
Okay.
okay?
I also have county convention Saturday. And Jody, you wanted to know how much the police brought in last year? It was
You
six,
just ask if there was an end of year report, like the one that's usually done monthly.
yes, but on the end of year, I don't normally put the full amount because the December money's not in until the January month.
Oh, so you're not gonna do a year-to-date that closes out 2014?
I have the numbers if you want it. Are you asking me to put the money with that?
I was just asking if we have a year-end that looks like this.
No, normally I don't. I only put in the year-end calls for the end of December.
Okay. That's, if you wanna just give me the numbers, I just thought there'd be a year-end aggregate report done. That was what I was asking.
But,
I'll take the numbers, that's fine.
Yeah.
okay, $61,828.88. That's
For an audit. for-
court fines, vehicle codes, ordinances, police services, and police reports. Another 5,900 came in from grants, and then the contract.
Yeah, I saw it differently.
What contract?
Yeah.
Oh, the Duncan Borough.
Yeah,
She had the total.
She said she didn't put it out.
Oh, you didn't put that out, Helen? the
no,
total
not,
amount
not the total amount for the December one, no.
Was in, like.
That was,
So you didn't get you didn't provide a year end.
no, I
Right,
didn't.
that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can do that now on if you wish.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, okay.
And I can
saw-
update
I
the-
saw it over there today, and then,
Yeah, I
yeah, right
got
there.
the numbers for it.
So the revenues brought in were what, 60-some?
61,828.88, and then another 5,900 for grants.
Yeah.
Can you put a copy of that in my box?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you have the breakdown, or you just did it?
Oh, yeah, I got the breakdown. Court fines, which includes state police, I broke it down by how we code them. It was $13,896. Vehicle codes, which include parking tickets, is $36,433.72. Ordinances was $9,096.70, and then police services was $412.50.
Hold
And
up, I'm trying
I'm
to
sorry.
I'm trying to follow your format categories, and you're combining things, giving me a total, and it's.
Well, no, what it is we get the court fines in, but parking tickets are also put under the court fines.
Oh, yeah.
When we code them on the,
So what do you use to create this?
the reports that I get in. Here,
Yeah, just copy. Why don't I?
No, he was just asking.
That look right now. Yeah, so look, that's the conversation. Sorry, no problem.
We've had other people that complain, right, yeah.
Henry, she wants to, I'm gonna break it out, show this the same format on the back.
You can get it here later,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get that for you.
Okay,
Okay.
engineer's report.
Henry,
Yes,
too much background talking.
okay.
Yeah.
Engineer's report.
Max didn't have any.
Okay, thank you. Okay, engineer's report. Police report?
You have it. That is, yes.
Yeah, we working all the, those on the, and everything going well. We're looking, into another vehicle. We also did, interviews, or an interview, for a, Gerald Kavanaugh, that I'd like to ask to get permission to hire him and bring him on. That's about it.
Okay. We did the interview with Mr. Kavanaugh before the board to give permission to enroll him in our police force or to hire him. Background checks were done. All that information was submitted to the Board of Supervisors prior to the interview, and all questions were asked, I think, to the satisfaction of all supervisors, whatever they may want to ask. Therefore, I make a motion that we grant Officer, the Chief, the permission to hire that gentleman as a police officer, Mr. Kavanaugh.
Just one quick question, if I may. The background check has come back and it has cleared?
Yes,
Okay.
That was done that night,
yes, it was, yeah, it was done prior to the interview, yes.
prior to the interview.
Okay. I second.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you.
Solicitor report, Natasha update, Helen?
Yes, Rich said that
About all
that
we had.
was submitted to the court
Mhm.
for the lien.
Okay. Permit report?
There was no building permits issued in January
Okay.
or zoning permits. Actually, nothing but certificate of occupancy issued in January.
Correspondence, Helen?
Okay, we got a couple here. County EMA coordinator, they were asking for information, if some places that store, sell, or manufactured hazardous chemicals, to let Mr. Bell know about this so they can plan. I did send a copy of this to the authority and to the police department. So unless you guys know of anyone,
Yeah, I've been in contact with Mr. Bell.
I do have a quick question, and Byron, since you're here, we know that in West Virginia, they recently had the train wreck that derailed and the fuels exploded and they had fires. One of the things that they announced or reported on, that a lot of those rural areas of West Virginia, their fire departments are not equipped with the right equipment to fight those type of fires, such as foam and things like that. I guess between you and the chief, are we equipped for such disaster here in our township?
Nobody is. That crude oil is just different.
That's hazmat. Yeah, it's actually, there's even gases pumped into it too. It's no longer like a fuel oil that we used to throw a match into and it would go out.
Correct.
We won't do that anymore.
The problem with what's going on now with the crude oil tankers, the tankers are not designed to haul that crude oil.
Correct, they're old.
Well,
They're
and
never
they're not.
designed to have the pressure of those tanks.
The specifications of the tanker were not made for that product, they just started shipping the product, so they have recognized that, and the upgrades are in process, but with the country not allowing the pipelines that could handle this in a safe manner, they choose to, once again, put it on the backs of the citizens of the country, so.
So is that something, is that something we can get and have on, and I don't know how long is it stable, how long does that last?
I
mean, when was
really
the last
don't
time we had
think an incident of that magnitude, that there's not enough resources in the tri-county area here for that. You would do the same thing they did there, they basically let it burn out.
Yeah.
Now, for smaller incidents and stuff, we do have two different types of foam water apparatus with the applicators, and there is resources that we are aware of with the Cumberland County, and that's what Mr. Bell's trying to do. Perry County has no hazmat team. They contract with Cumberland County. I believe there is a movement to establish one, and I think that's where he's going with trying to get resources for, for the hazmat team. Or even if there isn't a hazmat team, if we use Cumberland County or Dauphin County's hazmat team, that they could have a place to offload, things or, but, yeah, I wouldn't even know what the qualifications for any type of facility would be. I'm not familiar with that at all, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Next thing I have is the probability and trust. They're asking for someone to attend their meeting in April or send a proxy. It's the annual meeting where they put everybody in, both the new people in and all.
In the past time, we've always done the proxy, have we not?
Yes.
Okay. So that's for the board, what is the wish of the board?
I move the proxy be sent.
Okay,
I second.
motion made with a second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it.
Okay, the next one is the same thing for workers' comp.
Okay, do I hear a motion to concur with the proxy as in the past?
I make that motion.
Okay, motion made, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
How about a second?
A second, I'm looking for a second, excuse me.
I second.
Motion made with a second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, the next thing I have is PSAT's Trustees Insurance has webinars for their, what's this thing? This Act, what's it? 457B plan. Very generically, it's like a 401K plan. But so there's a webinar if someone wishes to sign up for it. Just an hour, it's not bad.
Okay, you have before the request is either supervisor.
When is it, do you know?
March 12th?
March 12th from 10 to 11.
Won't be here. I won't be around.
Oh,
I'll be
okay,
out of town,
okay.
so. Is that something that,
It's no cost, and we can just sign up for it and listen to it, and they normally have, like, slides that you can download.
would you and Libby want to consider taking a look at it? Just
Yeah. We've done them before in the
they can
house.
report back to us and let us know any recommendations or suggestions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perry County Comprehensive Plan, how?
That is, they're having open houses forums for their public comment portions. March 5th, 12th, and 19th. Our area is on March 5th from 6:30 to 8:30 at Marysville Rye Senior Center. And then there's one on the 12th at Blaine and the 19th at Pinnacle Health in Newport. That's a new family health center up there behind the Giant. And the last thing I have is Wheels for wishes to have us put a link on our website for recycling vehicles. They sent me a list of everyone who does it, and it's with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Basically, we put the link up and they would hit it on our webpage and go to their website. I copied that, and then I got in the back here what it looks like when you get to the website. We're asking people to donate their vehicles, boats, motorcycles, RVs, anything. Not quite. Maybe one of the kids want one.
What is the wish of the board? You want to grant Helen that?
Yeah, I make the motion that we grant, it's a very credible organization. I've not worked with them, but my employer has worked with them in developing programs and stuff like that. Very credible, very reliable. So I make the motion that we go ahead and give them access by placing a link
Okay,
on the township website.
no problem. And that's all I have under
You
correspondence.
gonna second?
Okay.
Yeah.
Second. I'll second.
I'd like to, could I ask
Yeah,
a question?
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know whether this is going to have an impact on our website by having this link? Because I see there's a video once you go to the
No,
website.
because we only have the link going to that website, that's,
Yeah.
So it won't impact resources on our
Because
website?
once they leave, once the link clicks them to their website,
Right.
we're no longer a
Yeah.
part.
Okay.
The only thing that would do would give exposure, there would be more hits on our website if we even.
oh, we get hits.
We count hits? Do we
Oh,
keep
yes.
records? Okay.
Yes, I have
So just
hits.
count hits, it'd just be
Yeah.
an extra hit to our township and somebody comes on it for that purpose.
Yeah, and I would put it under the, I can't think of the name of the page, but all the links we have, our link page, and I'd put a little on the front page too, on the home page.
Okay.
Calling for the vote.
Calling for the vote. Motion made with a second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay.
Old business, PP&L electric email, Helen?
Yeah, this is about the CFL recycling program. Jari Ibishman says he would be able to come in to do a little presentation to you gentlemen on the second week of March in the afternoon. He also sent me the website link to basically give an overview of the plan, how it will work. And I copied that down for you. And he also sent, you could go and check it on the webpage, but also all the places in the different counties in Pennsylvania that already do this. And in Perry, we have 4 places. 3 are up in New Bloomfield and 1's in Newport. Basically, they drop off a bucket, we put it in, they put it in, the people would put it in, we call when the bucket's full.
I wonder what type of bucket they're talking about, Helen.
Well, they have a picture of it.
Is that the one where they drop the ball in and it actually breaks and goes into the container?
Just a small bucket.
Yeah, that looks like just a,
Okay, so they're not
5
gonna
gallon
be
or
taking
s-
any,
yeah.
they're not gonna be taking any fluorescents or anything like that?
it doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
CFLs are compact.
Yeah. that-
Yeah, those are the
Not
little
the two.
twirly.
We had a request for that once before.
Yeah.
For
the big
Yeah,
bulbs.
for the big bulbs.
And maybe that is something they could add. That'd be a question for when he
Okay.
talks to you.
How about batteries? Why don't you ask them about batteries too?
Could.
They're not easy to dispose of.
No. So day would be good for you guys on the second week of March?
Is that the week of the 9th? The
9th.
I'm out of town the 9th, 10th, and the 11th. Is that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'm out of town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, so that,
I'm
and
out of town all week.
okay.
Okay.
So I can see about the next week if you wish.
That week's open for me. I don't know about you
That's
guys.
the 14th.
I don't have anything right now.
Okay.
Not, you say not the 4th?
Well, no, that's the week of the 14th.
The week of the 14th.
I'm
No.
Oh, sorry, 16th.
Yeah. I wouldn't be available on the 16th
Okay.
or the 17th in the afternoon.
No, 16 or 17. Okay. What time would be the best for you guys? After 2, 2:30?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, 2:30.
Okay.
You just didn't know, how long was the presentation again?
He didn't tell me the presentation, but I wouldn't expect more than an hour. He'll probably just go over the
The process?
process and answer any questions.
Okay.
And I'll get in contact with him and see which day is the best on the 18th, 19th, or 20th. Any days bad for you, Henry, of those? You didn't say anything, so I'm asking.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I'm available.
Okay, and then I'm still waiting for some more information on the UC unemployment compensation. But I did find out that we cannot change in mid-year. We have to do this at the beginning of the year. L&I would have to be notified by December 1st. PSATs would like to be notified in October, if we're gonna change. And that is for, according to PSATs, that was for all the monies being in one place in 1 year, not trying to find it for two different. Mrs. Burns and L&I are supposed to send me some more information. And one of the things you'll have to decide if we do this is if you wish to do relief of charges. That is so that we can challenge anyone who applies for unemployment. That is what they call a solvency fee, which is, they take the gross wages of the prior year, give us a solvency rate, which is set by L&I, and times that, and that's the fee. I also gave you some background information on what we have paid out from 2008 to current, or I should say PSAS paid out in the trust fund in our behalf, and what we have paid in 2014 for the employer portion only. And I also copied you what I found on the webpage. And as soon as I get the other information from Ms. Burns, well, I'll get it to you.
Taking a look at that at the present time, the way we see it, Helen, it's of no benefit to us.
It may not be,
May
because,
not be. I mean,
because that solvency fee is gonna be
urge you to
high.
take a look at the information that Helen's come up with so far, and we took a look in depth at those numbers, and don't need to do it now, but that's there. We have done some legwork on it,
And Mrs. Karn said she would come in and help too, but she's still on vacation.
okay.
And then, so as soon as I get more information, I'll give it to you guys.
Okay.
Next thing I have is newsletter will be going in the mail on Monday. There is a check to be signed like normal. And I'm asking to be, with the next payroll, to be paid for it. And that's it.
Okay.
Oh, with that, do you want me to get with Barbara to do a survey to put, and we could still put in a insert into this? We just do it in-house. We just make up the survey, copy it, and insert it before we mail it out.
Before you mail what out, Helen?
The newsletter.
Oh, the newsletter.
So I have time to get with Barbara on that.
Oh, that, okay.
Yeah, for this newsletter, if you wish to do that.
I'm wondering if that's the right thing to mail it out with.
Well, we could also do a mailing by itself. We draw up the survey, mail it out separately, and,
That's expensive.
Yeah,
well, we have a permit, so it's a little cheaper than regular mail, but yeah.
Does the permit specify what you're allowed to mail out?
Bulk mail, it just says bulk mail, and then you have a form you fill out on what it is, that would still be,
So you're just gonna do an insert,
I could do an insert and have the same price with the newsletter,
correct?
or we could do a separate mailing and then we still pay the postage.
So we can actually kill two birds with one stone if we can get it together before
By
Friday.
Friday, yeah.
I don't think there's anything there, but I would question, Helen, that we don't do something that is by sending a mailer out there. I think the question should be asked to Rich, whether
Okay.
we're clear
Okay,
and free by doing that, and explain to him what it is, us doing a survey, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
in regard to it, asking those questions.
okay,
Sometimes it takes an ordinance and there has to be a penalty or something behind it for enforcement.
yeah,
This may be one of them and it may not be, I'm not sure.
okay, so I'll check with Rich first.
I think it needs to be taken a look at.
And if we can't get an answer by Friday, do we just do,
And I think you ought to be able to do that. If it's clear there's no problem with it, I would make a motion that we send an insert,
okay,
okay? Subject to approval.
subject to Rich, yeah.
Just one thing, I was thinking when Barbara was speaking, since the newsletter's already going out, and we can't, I thought maybe, again, maybe she can put an insert together, just to inform the residents of Penn Township that they can go to the website to pay their tax, to go to the link to pay their taxes online. Just so if we can send some, just, it's a convenience, and it's, this day and age,
And
we're about
truthfully, a
convenience.
lot of people are using it.
A lot of people are using it, so if we could do just a little half-page insert, giving them, work with Barbara real quick, just to get something together, just to put that knowledge out there, because it does make it a whole lot easier just to go online.
Yep.
I haven't written it, I've written one check in the last 10 years, and that was about 3 months ago. Okay?
That's easy to do. Yeah, a lot of people are very happy with that service. Second for his motion with Rich?
I second.
Okay. Motion made, all those in favor give it a second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so we're, follow up, Helen.
Okay.
Okay, we have one other thing under old business which needs to be settled tonight, and that was the issue of what East Pennsboro Ambulance Service offered in Penn Township, the information that was given to them, and whether they want to consider them to still take care of that area coming up, or whether they're up to Burley Road. I had talked to him, had given letter and information or an email to the supervisors, make contact with them if they have any question. And so if it's open for discussion on the board now as to what their wishes may be or what they may want to do.
Well, I did take the opportunity to speak with,
Mr. Beck.
yes,
Mr. Beck.
a very nice gentleman. I did pose some questions to him referencing to, and nothing against Marysville Fire Department or nothing against EMS, but the time that I did live on 11 and 15, there were times that I would see the ambulance or EMS or something going past our house, and then seconds later, they would turn around and they would go southbound again, and then they would turn around and come back again, and come to find out that they were trying to look for, they didn't know where the certain road was. So my concern, then I did express it to him that, you know, I was concerned that as East Pennsboro being the primary, seconds matter. And therefore, you know, come to the clues, after talking with him, was very, very frank and very open with me, and, you know, Duncan and EMS already serves as second to Marysville. The EMS, Duncan and EMS is familiar with the territory, knows the roads, and things like that a little bit better. The response time would be, with the mileage and stuff like that, we're still closer than East Pennsboro. So my recommendation to the board is that we go ahead and make Duncan and EMS first call, first responding on that box, and East Pennsboro are second.
Any concern when you take a look that the 40-some calls or the calls that were not met in above Burley Road that was met by East Pennsboro coming up, if those calls were not met, that surely meant that our ambulance service couldn't get there. That's the only explanation that can be out there as to those calls. And all the time they had it, most of the calls were above Burley Road, only a couple in the area from Burley Road down through Penn.
I believe if I can remember the stats, what was it, 40 calls Duncan EMS responded to as secondary, below Burley. I believe it was about 40 calls they responded to.
This is, there was the first list that we had put out from them down there on, from 1/8/2014. That list right there up until 11/2/14. And out of that list right there in Penn Township, there was only 2 of them that was below Burley Road. And then I think you get into the other calls that they come in, there was 40-some, and that comes from the total amount that they went up there. That's the other schedule that's here. This, for a total of 43. So, I had originally set, in the very first meeting that was conducted down in Marysville, when we were talking about this, and Craig was there, and at that meeting it was discussed that it really wasn't that he was full, that he was tight, and he had it. Now, we hear different here, and we want to say that. The only thing I can say is, if you want to do that, who are we going to have when they can't answer to it?
Well, East Pennsboro would be our secondary.
Okay, okay. And so we're,
And both Craig and
Beck.
both Mr. Beck, they both agreed, and speaking with them both, they both agreed that, both can service the area equally. The only thing that he did bring up is that there is a few more minutes response time
and he has that scheduled here for us.
due to the delay from going from Cumberland County to Perry County. And also, there is the few miles that extends the distance, that would cause a little bit more delay time. He did say that, when speaking with him, that there was, that occasionally they do have limited resources themselves in the evening hours, that they're looking at trying to put up another shift or another squad to be available, but they only have one vehicle available in the evenings. If that vehicle's out on a call, then of course, Duncan and EMS would pick up that call. So they said that they do have some logistic issues that they have to face, as in trying to staff another ambulance, but he did say something on a positive note, that they are trying to contract with West Shore Advanced Life Support, ALS, is that what it is, or something like that? Trying to contract with them, so that would be an asset, to our area if Advanced Life Support was needed. They would contract with East Pennsboro would contract with the ALS to bring that with us, with them. So, but knowing that for response time, the delay going from one county to another county, and again, our EMS service is familiar with our territory and familiar with our roads. So therefore, I think they were a better fit to meet the needs of our township.
Okay. On the past issues that they sent up here, or the past information they gave us, let's make everybody clear of this. Duncan EMS does rely on volunteers to cover some of their calls, okay? The volunteers oftentimes are not on station at time of dispatch, which may cause a 1 to 4 minute delay in response. In the event, and so you take that 1 to 4 minute delay in response, and you take a look at the response coming from East Pennsboro, and you roll the pair of them in the same time frame. Okay? That is according to the meeting that he had with Craig. He discussed a few considerations to present. That came from Mr. Beck. So I just bring that all those issues out there that he talked about and presented. And
Henry, currently, what Brian said, currently, Marysville ambulance covers that area.
yeah, that's correct.
East Pennsboro is second due to that area right now.
Yeah.
Duncannon is third due to that area right now.
Okay.
And as far as your West Shore ALS contract,
That's already in place.
that's already in place. They run out of Duncannon Station
Okay.
And/or Holy Spirit.
and/or Holy Spirit, yes. So
Okay.
East Penn is just getting into that, but Duncannon EMS already has that, so they're already familiar up here.
And when speaking with Mr. Beck, he said it didn't really matter to him either way,
Right.
whether they did it or we did it. He felt that, both would be able to provide equal service to the township with that delay from one communication to the other communication, 911. But he said it doesn't matter either way. So it didn't matter to him whether or not, but the offer was out there for them to service us.
Yeah, I think, and not speaking for any of the other organizations, but I think Byron's point was the 41 calls that you referenced that Duncannon failed would have been East Penn fails, I think.
There might, I don't know, you'd have to look at them again if there was
you're-
more
if
than
you're really
41
south.
calls for service in that area.
Correct,
that
so
were
actually, if
totally
we were
answered.
third, that means second failed also.
And then, again-
That's a lot of numbers for failure,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
Marysville had a
That
paid
doesn't
crew
sound
during the
right.
day.
Yeah,
So that number seems astronomical. If there was 40-some failures that Duncannon responded to that area third due, there would be a tremendous call volume there. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, because those numbers as a fail for Marysville would
Yeah,
only
it's
be
total.
after 4 PM and on weekends. 4 PM during the week and then Saturday and Sunday,
and that was some of the
seems high.
logistics Mr. Beck mentioned too, that it's facing East Pennsboro is staffing those hours and extending hours and getting staffing for that.
And the only other consideration, and neither Byron or I could determine it, is if, I don't believe they're coming out of Summerdale anymore.
I think it's
I think it's
Weston
Western
Weston
Knoll.
Knoll.
which is the mileage,
Difference,
well, that would make it comparable mileage from Duncannon EMS to that area.
correct.
Because they moved farther away.
Right.
On that note, does the township dictate who's first due, second due, third due, et cetera? Because my suggestion in dealing with Cumberland County and with West Shore ALS, now that's a contractual thing with ALS. But as far as ambulance service is concerned, I know that when you go third due now, when this is in effect, your closest ambulance is gonna be Susquehanna Township. Now, I don't know what happens as far as Perry County or Cumberland County will be concerned, if those two counties would be replacing who's next in their county as opposed to who's next closest. Because that might be something you wanna look at too, now, because it was clear cut, you had Marysville, East Pennsboro, Duncannon. Now you're erasing Marysville out of the equation, whichever way you put East Pennsboro and Duncannon.
Right.
But now who are you gonna get next? Is West Shore is East Pennsboro gonna provide another ambulance, or are they gonna get one from Hampton Township, or
Well, I know that rare occasion Susquehanna
New
just recently
Bloomfield,
responded to.
Shermansdale? You know, that's.
Susquehanna just recently responded to an incident here in our township.
Yeah,
Which is a
and-
rare occasion
Well,
that happens.
But geographically, they're closer than you think.
Correct. Oh,
And
yeah,
plus,
because
they're
we're across the bridge.
24/7 staffed, so that's something you may wanna look into also when you go above and beyond those two services, who's next? Who would be your third due, because right now you know who it is. So I wouldn't leave it up to the counties because they do have that wall effect that we're gonna bring another unit from our county if it's not dictated. And then the next due from Perry County to Perdix would be either Shermansdale or New Bloomfield. And that's a hike, as opposed to right across the river.
Right.
So, that's something to keep in mind also.
I just took a look at that list. Want you to know, there's only a couple calls, it was below Burley Road. The rest were up at the Cove, 11 and 15, and they all answered these calls up here. So, that being said, if they couldn't be answered before, to get another ambulance in from another area, we run into a longer time frame again. That's what I'm taking a look at. So, that's my,
Just as another point of clarification, when you're looking at that list, are you looking at medical calls or are you looking at medical responses totally? Because it could also be, Byron, help me here, it could also be if that's an MVA with multiple patients, you're already pulling those resources from multiple locations, and that fail may be a second ambulance out of one of the multi-ambulance organizations.
On a fire call or something.
Right.
okay, that
There's
was,
lots of things to consider when you're reading those reports.
well, that, okay, yes. And this was their actual calls that they made, Jody. These-
Right,
these
I
from-
get it, I just,
That's an East Pennsboro report, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the East Pennsboro report. And what I'm getting at is, some of them, they're back in Sawmill, some of them are back in the Cove Road, some of them up 1115, all north of Burley. And so, when they couldn't respond, they were there. But if you can't get one, and so they're still gonna be second responder, and then the delay on not having an answer, I'm just telling you, you're taking a longer time frame to get there than if they were on primary service for that area.
Well, I do know too with the, as far as the Perry County is concerned, if Duncannon has a staffed ambulance and it is on a call,
Mhm.
and their next due ambulance is a volunteer ambulance in Duncannon and it's not staffed, they will dispatch it, but they will also dispatch another one at the same time. So it's not, even though the volunteers are staffing that, if they are short a crew member or two or have none, they will dispatch it, but they will also dispatch another one to replace it like it wasn't coming, like, so they're not depending on it.
So again, I'd like my motion to stand that we go ahead and expand Duncan EMS services below Burley Road to cover the Perdix area, and have East Pennsboro as our secondary. And I guess we have to determine whether or not, right now, our third is Susquehanna Township.
honestly, I don't know if you guys have to make that.
Well, that's something you may wanna research.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, but at least having,
Yeah.
having Duncan EMS cover what Marysville is currently covering, which ends at the end of April.
Okay, I got a Craig response, finally. East Penn is next due to the Cove area after Marysville. So they would, this is essentially, whoever you're putting on there is taking the current 208 and 209 box for the same situation. So if you're looking at putting Duncannon on, then that's covering Cove and Burley South, right? Where's 208 start? Start at the mountain?
They are the primary provider of the 208 box, Duncannon is. That's from the mountain to Burley Road. And all
Okay,
of
so
those.
he's saying East Penn right now is currently set.
Third due to the 8, second to the 9.
Okay.
And everybody referring to the 9, they're the fire boxes. 209 is from Burley Road to the Marysville line.
Right.
Right.
What would happen when they close 1115 down in Marysville for the banquet?
What's that?
When they do the bank project down in Marysville and they close 1115 down?
The mountain.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. Well, and that's next year, correct? That's planned for next year.
It'll be
Yeah.
one lane.
Right.
No, not
No.
talking about this one down, we're talking about down in
Below
Marysville.
Marysville.
Yeah, the one going from Marysville to East Pennsboro.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
Well, maybe they'll have to work with Shermansdale coming in down the Riverview and Hawk River.
I don't think they'll close it.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think so either, but they also have the road that goes up along the river there too, that comes up onto the subway.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, they have that back road down
sure,
there.
they can leave it slow.
That's overview.
Yeah.
So my motion is that we retain or bring Duncan EMS in to cover the area that is, as first, to cover the area currently being served by Marysville EMS.
And secondary?
And secondary would be East Pennsboro.
That's not our choice.
No.
That's not our choice.
Well, I guess who would determine that?
That's, I'll have to investigate that. I mean, Craig would
I
be
mean, who's
one
made
that-
that determination now, who's for second?
We had
third?
talked about that in County Firemen's Association meeting about, and basically it's determined on the fire call boxes, but I know they have a resource list of 30 ambulances
Okay.
at the county, so.
Okay, so second and third would be established by the county.
I mean, you could research that too to see if you can, I mean, I wouldn't see why you couldn't if you had the choice.
The reason I brought the question up is what's been here printed where they state that within 3 miles East Pennsboro, they got backfill coverage for service areas, 3 mutual aid services and whatnot. There was a concern by both parties here, Craig and Mr. Beck, that the time frame difference coming up here by those services. This is only a matter of telling East Pennsboro tomorrow that we're not gonna use our services, you're gonna go with East Penn, because they wanna get their brochures out and their subscriptions out so that they can get them to the printer. And the rest of it, as who's gonna be second, third, or whatever, is yet to be resolved.
All right, again, let me make the motion again, that we go ahead and, the service area that is now provided by Marysville, will now be covered by Duncan EMS.
Motion made, do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose. I feel that there's not enough discussion and not enough time in this to really sort this thing out. That's the only reason why, and I need to make that statement. Just come up real quick, short, attended the very first meeting in regard to this. Concerns by both sides on a time frame down here. Maybe it can be ironed out, maybe it can be straightened out. I wouldn't want to be one that I'm part of making a decision that the other one can't get there or not servicing that area down there.
And again, I'd like to iterate with that, in my conversation with Mr. Beck, he says both could service the area equally. It didn't matter to him who did it,
Yeah.
that would be our decision.
Okay, but we're telling him at the present time that we're not going to then.
Correct,
Okay.
we voted
Okay.
that we would do it hand in EMS.
Okay, I hope it works out, folks.
What's the vote?
That
Duncan EMS will cover it.
We'll take that territory.
Okay?
He didn't oppose it.
Yeah, okay.
You make stuff from that,
Yeah. Don't get that, what Memorial Week.
Okay, anything?
One more thing on the agenda.
That's
Oh,
under new
yes,
business.
we have that on the end agenda there.
Yeah.
Okay, exoneration.
Okay, the county is asking whether the township would approve or object to them removing the parcel for Appalachian Trail Ranch. They are in arrears for taxes. Up from the arrears to taxes to the current taxes, it's $152.40.
Where is the Appalachian Trail Ranch? I'm not
I
familiar
think
with
it's
that
up in the
name.
coven somewhere, isn't there,
Over
up in the
other-
mountains?
It's over the other side, Helen.
Okay.
Over comes up over the top of the mountain back here on the cove. It's the Appalachian Trail. They call it ranch. I don't know how it is. It's confusing to me, but yet it falls within our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And the Appalachian Trail comes up on the far side of the cove back there, which is the boundary line between them and Rye on the top of the mountain coming down across there. Appalachian Trail Ranch is, I never got the full story of just who they are, what it is, or
Well,
anything else, but it falls
It's an
into-
incorporation, so.
Corporation, yeah. That's,
But they,
they've been here before with this.
to get rid of
Appalachian
it?
Trail Ranch was on the agenda last year on a matter like this.
Oh, okay. They're saying it's not an identifiable tax parcel, but they think it's in the best interest of all the taxing abilities.
I never understood where it is or how it could be here in Penn Township.
And that's basically what they're saying.
Yeah, I just don't
Well,
understand where it's at.
And the county's saying too that
That's correct.
if we don't respond to it, they're gonna act on it and remove it.
Yes.
I'd remove it, that's
Yeah, well, they're just asking our opinion.
Yes, you know.
Us in the school district, but,
If it's not there, let them remove it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the way I see it, Jess, because the trail comes up and joins right on the state game lands up there. I have no idea where it's at. I think there's some confusion from the Appalachian Trail Ranch used to come over the other side through the Booker place and come up in the mountain. That was Appalachian Ranch at one time, Appalachian Trail Ranch. I don't know whether there's any ground extended up into there to the top of it. That boundary line's at the top of the mountain there where the trail comes up in the far end of the coast.
And they agreed, it's,
Yeah.
Inidentifiable,
yeah,
so
so,
it's there, but it's not there.
Yeah, that's just what I'm saying. I don't know where it's at.
well, they were paying taxes up until 2012.
Yeah.
But we're talking $152.40.
Okay. What is the wish of the board?
I would like to make the motion of the exoneration of the partial number 210, comma, 149.00-001.001, the Appalachian
No
Trail
wonder they
Ranch.
can't find it.
Yeah. Input that we, exoneration of this partial and, I guess forgiveness of the taxes.
Yeah, that would happen.
I'll second that motion.
They have too many numbers in that parcel number.
Huh?
They have too many numbers.
All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so.
Before you adjourn, I wanna make sure I understood what I agreed to.
Oh,
Forget it, I got it.
Okay, y'all can go home, we'll talk.
alarms at? Remove that guy.
I'm I need to get that area paved by the definition of paved. Agreed.
Yeah.
But I can call him in and get all the other inspections done. What I'm getting at, Henry, is I don't wanna come April 28th and have it paved.
It's it's separate. Everything else that you wanna call into what you wanna do is other permits for other work. This pertains to you getting open and none of those other
Oh, I
ones.
understand.
Yes,
But-
yes, you call Bob, get everything else done,
That's what I'm
and
asking.
he will tell me, okay.
Anything
temporary-
else for yourself.
Yes, not, we're not,
Yeah.
Cause I don't want him to come out there
When
and
you're
say,
saying
well,
everything else, I'm thinking all the other buildings, other parcels.
No.
I'm
and
talking
whatnot.
about why planting trees instead of grass?
I mean-
I'd sooner see trees, I don't want no grass.
Basically, there
Don't blame him.
isn't, from what I got from Bob, there isn't much else for you to do.
No, there isn't.
There you
No,
are, there you
no.
go. These two things here.
Wait, do I have to quiet you two? We got this.
Okay.
Now I gotta nod you too.
I make a motion we adjourn.
I second.
Thank you the whole
Make a
way.
second, all those in favor, say aye.
no.
2:30. Who's closest to the population center here?
Too late now.